freedom. Obsessions always jumping through. I'm so tangled, I'm so worthy. I'm just lost in my reflection. Pay attention, you never will. I will overanalyze and fall victim. But when I'm lowest, time to get to know myself. I'm still tangled, I'm not worried, 'cause I am caught up in this perfection. Pay attention, yeah, you never will. 'Cause you depend, so you always will. If you arrest yourself again, I'll help you clean up the mess. I wonder if you ever did, yeah. I wonder if you ever did like I did. I wonder if you ever did, yeah. I wonder if you ever did like I did. Just wanna be free, yeah, free, yeah, free, yeah, paint away day and night, 6 hearts, hope I'm okay. You're alright, goodbye then if you dare. Someone new is pulling everywhere. I'm afraid to let them. Nothing is what I say. I feel far away. Nothing is what I think. I will drown in panic. Yeah, 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 yeah. After you, I'm afraid of feeling some too
Yo.
what you're giving. Nothing
Let's go,
is
people.
what I say. I feel far away.
Holy shit in my tire faucet.
Nothing is what I think. I'm a drowning pig.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Ooh, oh, 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 oh. Ooh, oh, 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 oh. Ooh, oh, 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 Let's go.
Paint away, day and night, 6 hearts, hope I'm okay. You're alright, goodbye, and if you dare,
Someone new is pulling everywhere. I'm afraid to let them. Nothing is what I say. I feel far away.
nothing is what I think. I'm a drowning pig. Yeah, 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 yeah. Nothing is what I say. I feel far away. Nothing is what I think. I'm a drowning pig. Nothing is what I say. I feel far away. Nothing is what I think. Nothing is what I think. Yeah, 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 yeah. 'Cause I will drown in pink.
Oh, 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 oh. Let's go, baby. Dude, how we doing? Dude. Dude. What's up? See Anna and Cenk go off on Israel? I did not. I know, though, that Anna and Cenk hate Israel. Like, they hate them. I did see that there was, like, a massive protest in Israel. Did you guys see that? People, like, protesting Netanyahu. There was, like, 250,000 people. Right? And I think we have to fucking... I don't know. We have to be very cognizant of the difference between Israel and Netanyahu. You know what I'm saying? The same way that, like, people right now could be very much bad-mouthing America, right? And America could be on the hit list. Right? You know what I'm saying? When in fact it's Trump, right? And some of America. Right? Oh shit. Dude. Yeah, no, 250,000 people. Did you see? It was pretty impressive. Here, let's find a shot of it. Look at this shit, dude. Look at this. Right? It's like a week ago. 300,000 in Tel Aviv. 2.5 million gathered around the country. 300,000 gathered in Tel Aviv. As a week ago, guys. Look at that shit, dude. What is Israel's entire population? 9 million. So 2.5 million, 25% of the fucking country gathered around the country. Isn't that insane? That's insane. Like nearly 5% of the entire population gathered in Tel Aviv. You know what I mean? And it's a massive fucking protest. Dude, a massive protest. Dude, that's crazy. That is crazy. Dude, it's crazy. There's even people in Israel, Israelis calling it a genocide. That's wild. All right. That is fucking wild. They want a permanent ceasefire, release of prisoners, end of Zionism. Right? Fucking A, bro. It's impressive. Dude, he is so terrible, dude. Right? He is so fucking bad, bro. Netanyahu is. Like, I've not seen a leader. I feel like there's only a handful of leaders I've seen that are so bad. And he is one of them. He is like so bad. In particular, you know what I don't like about him? What I don't like about him is how he's been using the same refrain for like 30 years. Okay? For 30 years, he's been like, Iran's about to have a nuclear weapon, right? Everybody's the enemy. It's like the 30 years, man. You know what I'm saying? 30 fucking years, dude. He's been saying the same shit. And like, dude, I find that like annoying. Yeah, well, here's the thing is we know Trump is going to be all in. I mean, dude, Netanyahu's practically Trump's family. Let's be real. Okay? Trump is going to join in and Netanyahu's going to get all the territory he wants from Trump. I mean, dude, he's a family friend, bro. He's like Charles Kushner's fucking good buddy. Charles Kushner's a crook. Jared Kushner's dad. So yeah, that shit is crazy. When I saw like Dearborn, Michigan, some of those civic leaders endorsing Trump, I was like, what the fuck are these guys doing, bro? That is the dumbest shit I've ever seen, man. You know what I'm saying? I will never understand for a million years why like the people from Dearborn backed Donald Trump unless they just knew that letting him run rampant in government's going to like weaken the US long term. And they were seeking like a long-term weakening of the US, knowing that. Because let's face it, guys. Okay, let's face it. After Hegseth and the military and the shit that Trump's doing, the isolationism, like we're going to be behind, 15 years in tech, right? You know how fast tech goes, right? With the clamping down on like wind and solar technology and shit, we are going to emerge by 2030. We're going to be like a decade behind all the other advanced nations. Seriously, we're going to be behind in tech. We're going to have advanced climate change here in America. We will have weakened 100 years of allies and sown distrust and discord, not to mention how reluctant people are going to be to trade with us again, right? We're actually, what's going to happen is much of the global economy is going to advance without us. I mean, Trump is fucking us so bad. So bad. It's like, it's unfathomable. And dude, for the life of me, I will not understand, like, how. You know what I'm saying? Like, and here's what hit me. You ready? Here's what hit me, dude. So what hit me was this, was something that happened earlier today or whatever. There was some asshole who said like, something about America. You're lucky that people should be thankful for capitalism because there's food banks for the poor. And I was like, food banks, you're a fucking moron or whatever. And somebody got in my fucking replies and said, you're the reason, people like you with your attitude are the reason I voted for Trump. I'm an independent. And they said it was my attitude, but I was like, really? I'm like, so I tell you, like a voter that you disagree with tells you to fuck off and you decide to go vote for the fascist, racist, like fucking religious zealot, anti-trans, rapey guy who was best friends with Epstein because you don't like a voter on your side, but you'll go join the side that like has Nazis and fucking, complete fucking like Hitler supporters. But like, if I tell you to fuck off, you're going to go vote with the Hitler supporters. Like, dude, I'm not buying it. I mean, dude, that's the lamest fucking excuse. That's like, no, you're just a bigot. You're a fucking degenerate. You're a scoundrel, and you want to blame me for it. You want to try and blame me for the fact that you decided to go join a rapist, Nazi, fucking xenophobic shithead party. And you want to somehow say I'm responsible. But like, dude, if somebody tells you to fuck off and you go and hang out with the Nazis because of it, that's a you problem. That, like, if you can't handle being told to fuck off and you still vote for human rights and decency, then you deserve the Nazis. You know what I mean? Like, bro. So anyway, guys, we should talk about Chicago, okay? Because I am feeling like Chicago is going to be the flashpoint, guys. Chicago feels like Kent State, okay? And I really hope JB Pritzker fucking goes balls to the wall, because here's the deal, guys. Okay, you ready? So look at what's happened. Okay, Trump comes in, he does his little ICE terrorizing. He's terrorizing blue states, as I told you he was going to terrorize blue states. Now, he was able to get away with the National Guard in LA, right? Because there was that unrest. There was the burning Waymo car. There were cops getting cinder blocks thrown at them. So there was a loophole for him to be like, all right, I'm sending in the National Guard. Nobody needed it. Nobody wanted it. But there was a little bit of standing because there was unrest and like burning vehicles and buildings getting destroyed. So there's a little bit of understanding. Okay, we're sending them in to quell the disturbance. Now with DC, they milked the big balls thing. They have jurisdiction over DC. So DC was a special thing where he could just do that and get away with it. He doesn't even need the standing because it's right, because it's, under his jurisdiction. However, Chicago's unique. There is no like war going on there. There's no riot. There's no protest. There's no uprising of any sort. There has not been a spike in crime. There has not been any major incident of terrorism or anything like that. There's been nothing has happened in Chicago to require a National Guard deployment. Okay, there's no excuse. Okay, now Trump is threatening this well in advance. Okay, and now JD Pritzker, okay, it really is, I hate to say this, but the future of Trump's fascism is in JB Pritzker's hands. What type of like resistance he puts up. Because if he lets Trump send in the National Guard for no reason, and the National Guard's driving tanks around downtown Chicago just because, that is going to set off a firestorm where then Trump is going to do that in every major American city in a blue state just to flex his fucking might and to start sending that you're in a fascist fucking environment. You know what I'm saying? You're in a fascist environment and now you got to be careful how you vote. You got to be careful how you speak up. Like, and that bullshit about the flag, I am definitely burning a flag. I'm going to make a video for Trump, to Trump with a personal message, and I'm going to burn a flag. Because fuck him, bro. With his little executive order, that's not a law. He can't executive order me out of my First Amendment right to be able to burn a flag. You know what I'm saying? Dude. So anyway, I feel like this is what it comes down to, guys. All right, I think we should watch this Pritzker bit. Okay? We should watch this Pritzker bit, and because this is going to be big. All right? He held a presser. Let's see if there's a full presser here. $12. Yeah, I think let's watch this whole thing, shall we? Dude, you ready? Let's watch this whole thing. He did sign an American flag with a black marker. Yes, he did. Dude, we know the flag shit is bullshit, guys. It is your First Amendment right to burn the flag. They can't fucking stop you from doing it. And it's all just a show. It's just his weird, threatening fucking show bullshit. Okay? All right, you ready? We're going to watch the whole Pritzker presser. I feel like this is important. You're worried your son is there? Where? In Chicago, 𝗙ście? Your son's going to be all right. Let's go. Thank you, 𝗙ście. Let's go, baby. It is theater, dude. Everything Trump does is theater. All right. So here we go. You ready? Let's go. All right, here we go. Here we go. Here we go.
Here in Chicago, our civilian police force and elected leaders work every day to combat crime and to improve public safety. And it's working. Not one person here today will claim we have solved all crime in Chicago. Nor can that be said of any major American metro area. But calling the military into a U.S. city to invade our streets and neighborhoods and disrupt the lives of everyday people is an extraordinary action, and it should require extraordinary justification. Look around you right now. Does this look like an emergency? Look at this. Go talk to the people of Chicago who are enjoying a gorgeous afternoon in this city. Ask the families buying ice cream on the Riverwalk. Go see the students who are at the beach after school. Talk to the workers that I just met taking the water taxi to get here. Find a family who's enjoying today sitting on their front porch and ask if they want their neighborhoods turned into a war zone by a wannabe dictator. Ask if they'd like to pass through a checkpoint with unidentified officers in masks while taking their kids to school. Crime is a reality we all face in this country. Public safety has been among our highest priorities since taking office. We have hired more police and given them more funding. We banned assault weapons, ghost guns, bump stocks, and high-capacity magazines. We invested historic amounts into community violence intervention programs. We listened to our local communities, to the people who live and work in the places that are most affected by crime, and asked them what they needed to help make their neighborhoods safer. Those strategies have been working. Crime is dropping in Chicago. Murders are down 32% compared to last year and nearly cut in half since 2021. Shootings are down 37% since last year and 57% from 4 years ago. Robberies are down 34% year over year. Burglaries down 21%. Motor vehicle thefts down 26%. So in case there was any doubt as to the motivation behind Trump's military occupations, take note. 13 of the top 20 cities in homicide rate have Republican governors. None of these cities is Chicago. 8 of the top 10 states with the highest homicide rates are led by Republicans.
Okay, now, I did some digging today, guys. Okay, check this out. We're going to go down a little rabbit hole here in the middle of Pritzker's speech since he mentioned this, because I did a little digging, okay? And I put these stats on my Twitter. But now watch this, guys. I went into Grok today, and I had a little conversation where I said, okay, I said, Grok, list the towns or cities in America with the highest violent crime rates, okay? And what ended up happening was Grok said, okay, it listed these cities based on 100,000, the crimes per 100,000 residents, a list of U.S. cities, okay? And as you'll see, Memphis, Detroit, Baltimore, Houston, Nashville, Denver, D.C. is number 7. Philly, Indianapolis, and Phoenix were the main cities. So the number 1 is Memphis, considerably higher than the rest of the country, which means if Trump wanted to go to the most crime-ridden place in America, he would send the National Guard to Memphis, which he will not. Chicago's not even in there. But guys, you ready for this? Here's where it gets crazy. So now what I did was I asked Grok, compare small towns, okay? Compare small towns. I want to know how the smallest towns react with this. And so I said, the small towns to these cities. Now, watch what you are about to see, okay? So based on available data from FBI reports for larger cities, and a mix of 21 to 24 data for small towns and cities under 100,000, they created a chart of violent crime rates per 100,000. Okay, you ready? Dude, this is going to blow your mind, guys. Number 1 is 𝗙់Village in Illinois. Okay, population 9,000, and the violent crime rate is 5,500 per 100,000. Okay, number 2 is Anniston, Alabama, 3,400. Okay, per 100,000. Okay, Florida City, Florida, Osceola, Arkansas. All of these are ahead of Memphis. Okay, all 4 of these are ahead of Memphis. 3 of them are in red states, and they're small towns of 6,000 to 20,000 people, right? Then you have Marksville, Louisiana, okay? Detroit, Michigan, Globe, Arizona, Alexandria, Louisiana, Baltimore, Maryland, Darlington, South Carolina, Hartsville, South Carolina, Monroe, Louisiana, Emeryville, California, Ocean City, Maryland, Houston, Texas, Nashville, Tennessee, Denver, Colorado, Washington, D.C., and Philadelphia. Washington, D.C., guys, is number 19, bro. Okay? But the point being is you have, of the top 20, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You have 8 of the top 20. Okay? That's 40%. 40% of the top 20 are small rural areas, small towns in red states. Isn't that crazy? That's nuts. Well, we know this isn't about crime, buddy. We're not stupid, okay? But the point is you have to look at this data in order to prove that it's not about crime, right? You can't just say it. You have to bring the receipts, boss. You have to prove it, right? If he really was concerned about crime, clearly a town like Anniston, Alabama, with only 21,000 having a higher violent crime rate than Memphis, many more of the citizens of Anniston are being affected by the violent crime there than in a major city, okay? It's affecting a significant portion of the population, okay? With this, at this rate, 3,000 per 100, that means like 5% of the population is being affected by fucking crime. You know what I mean? I mean, dude, it's fucking crazy, the entire population. But there's 3 of these cities, or 2 or 3 of these cities are in Louisiana. Marksville, Alexandria, and Monroe. That's the Speaker of the House, Maga Mike Johnson's state. 3 of the top 20 are small cities in fucking in Mike Johnson's home state. Crazy, isn't it? When you look at that, isn't it wild? And it says small towns like Sioux Village and Anniston, Alabama, have rates exceeding the most dangerous large cities due to limited resources, economic factors, and reporting variations. Okay? And isn't that wild? Dude, it's pretty eye-opening though. But DC is number 20, 19, and Chicago's not even in there. Okay? Chicago's crime rate is not even that high. The thing about Chicago, the thing about Chicago is it's code word for black, right? Dude, Chan, nobody's trying to change MAGA's minds, boss. Okay? If you're thinking MAGA's minds are going to be changed, you're an idiot. Okay? No offense. I'm not saying you're an idiot. I'm just saying I don't care about MAGA's minds. I don't fucking care about MAGA. I'm not here to change their minds. I could give two shits what those fucking inbred motherfuckers do. Okay? So like get off my jock. Okay there, bro? Right? You know what I'm saying? Yeah, fuck MAGA, dude. You know what I mean? I give two shits. They're never going to change their mind. I'm here to fucking bring the receipts. I'm here to bring the pain, dude. MAGA can eat a dick. You know what I'm saying? Fuck MAGA. Fuck anyone who thinks they're going to fucking be friendly with MAGA. Let's go. Dude, your older brother voted MAGA? Dude, I have some MAGA in my family. I don't fucking talk to him. I don't. Dude, I don't, man. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go, baby. This is what I think of MAGA. Oh! Dude, yeah. Dude, so when the shit went down with my dad, you know what happened? So I contacted my dad's brother, okay, when I was trying to find out about my dad. Now, mind you guys, my dad's brother is a fucking douchebag, okay? He's terrible. He was abusive. I saw him beat the shit out of his kids and punish them, make them scrub the driveway in the hot sun in California with toothbrushes. I mean, he was such an extreme, abusive motherfucker. Like, I hated the man when I was a kid because he was so outrageously abusive. And he became, like, active in a church in Torrance, California. And he became man of the year at church while he was abusing the children of his fucking girlfriend. He was so bad. No, my dad's brother. And so recently when my dad was like, when we were like, is my dad dead? Is he still alive? There was some issue of what was going on. I reached out to my dad's brother to find out about him. And my dad's brother is like diehard MAGA. Of course, the most abusive, phoniest man of the year who's like sexually abusing and abusing his girlfriend's kids. Of course, that guy's MAGA. It tracks, right? Well, anyway, he responded to me on Facebook and was like, oh, I see we're on opposite ends of the political spectrum, but he's like, family is family. And I just fucking blocked his ass and never replied back to him because I was like, dude, no, family is not family to me. Like, fuck you. You were abusive to begin with. Like, I never liked you to begin with. And now that I know you're MAGA, like, now it's like double fuck off. But of course, the most abusive and disgusting man I know is like a crazy diehard MAGA. He lives in a small town of Idaho, dude. Fucking shitbag, bro. Dude, just a shitbag. Oh. Just an absolute shitbag. But yeah, dude. Your parents are genuinely good people. They've been brainwashed. Dude, that's rough, man. Right? That is rough, right? It is, dude. If your like parents and shit have been, or your family have been brainwashed. See, I'm not sure what that looks like. Like, I mean, it's hard to claim, like, I mean, I don't know. It's like, how do you get brainwashed? You know, like, I mean, I get it. When you go, right, if you join the military, you go to boot camp, you get brainwashed, right? You do. It's part of the job, right? If you go to, you know, if you go to the 28-day purification rundown, you get brainwashed. But when you live in a world where you can call up your family and friends and run shit by them and be like, man, like, is this shit true? You know, I mean, I guess it does. That's a fair point, actually, right? If they are religious, okay, if they are religious, they're kind of already brainwashed. You know what I mean? And so, like, that's just it. I mean, I really think that with the MAGA shit and the Trump shit, I think the religion is the basis of it. I think it's the crux, guys. I really do. And here's why. Okay? Because the Christian religion that Americans fucking believe in, the way they've adopted Christianity here in modern America is like an eye for an eye, right? They use spare the rod, spoil the child. There's some implication that they're supposed to beat their kids into obedience. And they believe in a dictatorial, like a leader that says, I love you, but I will fuck you up if you break the rules, right? So there is an authoritarianism that's based on punishment and fear and severity. And if you hurt me, I hurt you 10 times, right? And that, so they're very susceptible to any belief system that espouses that. So for them, if like, wow, you guys have gay people in your town, gay's not okay in our Bible, so if we send the tanks in where the gay people are, that's okay. God would approve that. They think they're doing God's work, right? Because God's okay with that. Because God doesn't like the gay, but he likes the military. He likes the fucking, you know, conquest. As long as it's conquest of like the people being manipulated by the devil, right? And so that shit is fucking, I mean, I guess their brain's already cooked, right? Their shit is cooked on authoritarian fucking, you know, religious double talk, bro. Right? God already touched their pee-pee, so there's no turning back, right? You know? God touched the pee-pee, dude. It's over. At that point, once God touched their pee-pee, dude, it's all over. Dude. Let's go. Oh, shit. Dude. Look out. Hello, God. What are you doing today? Oh, Lord. All right, let's get back to JB's fucking speech, bro. Yeah, I just thought those crime rates were interesting.
None of those states is Illinois. Memphis, Tennessee, Hattiesburg, Mississippi have higher crime rates than Chicago, and yet Donald Trump is sending troops here and not there? Ask yourself why. If Donald Trump was actually serious about fighting crime in cities like Chicago, he, along with his congressional Republicans, would not be cutting over $800 million in public safety and crime prevention grants nationally, including cutting $158 million in funding to Illinois.
See, that's another huge point, too. Trump defunded the police. He cut policing grants. He cut neighborhood protection grants. Massively, bro. Massively.
For violence prevention programs that deploy trained outreach workers to de-escalate conflict on our streets. Cutting $71 million in law enforcement grants to Illinois. Direct money for police departments through programs like Project Safe Neighborhoods, the state and local anti-terrorism training program, and the Rural Violent Crime Reduction Initiative. cutting $137 million in child protection measures in Illinois that protect our kids against abuse and neglect. Trump is defunding the police. To the members of the press who are assembled here today and listening across the country, I am asking for your courage to tell it like it is. This is not a time to pretend here that there are two sides to this story.
Yeah, and I would like to point this out too, because already, guys, we're having an issue with the press doing this shit. Because look at what ABC wrote about Chicago. Look at this fucking headline, bro. Okay, look at this shit. Where is it? Let me find it. Let's go on Twitter and we'll find this. I thought I'd find the headline. Dude, Matt, let's go, baby. All right, so here, look at this. Let's go to ABC News. Look at their headline, okay? Their headline about Chicago is, where is it? Right here. Oh, no. That's cashless bail. Hold on, let me find the Chicago one. Because this headline is fucking suspect, bro. Okay? And this is the kind of shit we need not from the fucking press. Okay? This is the shit we need not from the fucking press. All right, let me fucking, I wonder if they changed it. Right here. Okay? This is what I'm talking about. Look at this shit. Look at this headline. President Trump said he is looking to crack down on crime in other cities in the country and is eyeing Chicago, a Democrat-led city that has long been a target of the president's criticism. Right? So they're framing this with Trump said he's looking to crack down on crime. So he wants to fucking send in the troops instead of like Trump is being a fascist, like unconstitutional by sending the military in to fucking police U.S. citizens, right? This is fucking bullshit, okay? This is fucking bullshit. If we have these kinds of headlines, if they do this through this process, we are going to end up like 1939 Germany, guys. You know what I'm saying? It does. It is like saying like, okay, he's really trying to crack down on crime and they're making it seem that like he's fucking, oh, it's not even a bad thing. You know? Doesn't even need to be in quotes. It shouldn't be framed with Trump saying he's trying to crack down on crime because we know that's a lie. Okay? Quit using Trump's lies and representing them as though they are some type of truth. Okay? When in fact, Trump is suggesting he make a highly unconstitutional move to again use the military against U.S. citizens. This is like unprecedented and he should be stopped. But these kinds of headlines, dude, okay, these kinds of headlines are the shit that are gonna get us all fucking killed, bro. You know what I'm saying? This is the shit that's gonna get us killed. Right? And again, you know, they're just reporting, oh, National Guard troops are now armed, and he's suggesting he expand his focus to other Democratic-run cities. Yeah. Well, that's weird. So now you have the president sending in military to every Democrat-run city? That's a fucking problem, ABC. You fucking clowns. You know? This shit is fucking bullshit. right? This is fucking bullshit, bro. This shit's gonna get us all killed, man. Right? And again, you know, President Trump said the government is going to try to stop California's redistricting effort, but they're not making it a point of like why California's redistricting in the first place, because Texas is doing something unprecedented, an unprecedented power grab, redistricting in the middle of a fucking decade exclusively to benefit Donald Trump, removing Democratic representation, locking lawmakers in the fucking offices and shit, forcing them to vote. What the fuck is that, bro? It is like complete and utter fascism. And they're not reporting it that way. You know what I'm saying? They're saying like, oh, Trump is going to sue California for their redistricting. Dude, they're doing the same shit that they did during the election. Okay, the same shit they did during the election, where they're basically like, you know, sane washing his dumb ass. Right? It's fucking, that shit is outrageous, man.
Finally, to the Trump administration officials who are complicit in this scheme, to the public.
Oh, sorry. Here we go. I'm on the wrong thing. My bad. All right, here we go.
This is not a time to fall back into the reflexive crouch that I so often see, where the authoritarian creep by this administration is ignored in favor of some horse race piece on who will be helped politically by the president's actions. Donald Trump wants to use the military to occupy a U.S. city, punish his dissidents, and score political points. If this were happening in any other country, we would have no trouble calling it what it is, a dangerous power grab. Look at the people assembled before you today, behind me. This is a full cross-section of Chicago's leaders from the business world, the faith community, law enforcement, education, community organizations, and more.
Yeah, you notice how it's not a bunch of white men? Take this in, guys. Okay, take this in. It is not a bunch of white men. Every time Donald Trump is at a podium, who's surrounding him? Nothing but white men.
We sometimes disagree on how to effectively solve the many challenges that our state.
This looks like fucking America. Looks like Chicago. You got disabled, you got black women, you got white women, you got Hispanic women, you got black men, you got Hispanic men. Looks like there's a couple Middle Eastern folk in there. It is like a very diverse fucking group of people, man.
And our city face on a daily basis. But today we are standing here united, in public, in front of the cameras, unafraid to tell the president that his proposed actions will make our jobs harder and the lives of our residents worse. Earlier today in the Oval Office, Donald Trump looked at the assembled cameras and asked for me personally to say, "Mr. President, can you do us the honor of protecting our city?" Instead, I say, "Mr. President, do not come to Chicago." You are neither wanted here nor needed here. Your remarks about this effort over the last several weeks have betrayed a continuing slip in your mental faculties and are not fit for the auspicious office that you occupy. Most alarming.
Dude,
you seem
to translate that one, it's like, you fucking crazy, bro! Quit being a goddamn Looney Tune! You dumb motherfucker! Goddamn, dude. Hey, Maga. What a bunch of inbred chuckle fucks, bro. Jesus.
Auspicious office that you occupy. Most alarming. You seem to lack any appropriate concern as our commander-in-chief for the members of the military that you would so callously deploy as pawns in your ever more alarming grabs for power. As a governor, I've had to make the decision in the past to call up members of the National Guard into active service. And I think it's worth taking a moment to reflect on how seriously I take that responsibility and on the many things that I consider before asking these brave men and women to leave their homes and their communities to serve in any capacity for us. As I've said many times in the past, members of the National Guard are not trained to serve as law enforcement. They are trained for the battlefield, and they're good at it. They're not trained to arrest people and read them their Miranda rights. They did not sign up for the National Guard to fight crime. And when we call them into service, we are reaching into local communities and taking people who have jobs and families away from their neighborhoods and the people who rely upon them. It is insulting to their integrity and to the extraordinary sacrifices that they make to serve in the Guard, to use them as a political prop, where they could be put in situations where they will be at odds with their local communities, the ones that they seek to serve. I know Donald Trump doesn't care about the well-being of the members of our military, but I do. And so do all the people standing here. So let me speak to all Illinoisans and to all Chicagoans right now. Hopefully the president will reconsider this dangerous and misguided encroachment upon our state and our city's sovereignty. Hopefully rational voices, if there are any left inside the White House or the Pentagon, will prevail in the coming days. If not, we are going to face an unprecedented and difficult time ahead. But I know you, Chicago, and I know you are up to it. When you protest, do it peacefully. Be sure to continue Chicago's long tradition of nonviolent resistance. Remember that the members of the military and the National Guard who will be asked to walk these streets are, for the most part, here unwillingly. And remember that they can be court-martialed and their lives ruined if they resist deployment. Look to the members of the faith community standing behind me today for guidance on how to mobilize. To my fellow governors across the nation who would consider pulling your National Guards from their duties at home to come into my state against the wishes of its elected representatives and its people, you would be failing your constituents and your country. Cooperation and coordination between our states is vital to the fabric of our nation, and it benefits us all. Any action undercutting that and violating the sacred sovereignty of our state to cater to the ego of a dictator will be responded to. The state of Illinois is ready to stand against this military deployment with every peaceful tool we have. We will see the Trump administration in court. We will use every lever at our disposal to protect the people of Illinois and their rights. Finally, to the Trump administration officials who are complicit in this scheme, to the public servants who have forsaken their oath to the Constitution to serve the petty whims of an arrogant little man, to any federal official who would come to Chicago and try to incite my people into violence as a pretext for something darker and more dangerous, we are watching and we are taking names. This country has survived darker periods than the one that we're going through right now, and eventually the pendulum will swing back, maybe even next year. Donald Trump has already shown himself to have little regard for the many acolytes that he has encouraged to commit crimes on his behalf. You can delay justice for a time, but history shows you cannot prevent it from finding you eventually. If you hurt my people, nothing will stop me, not time or political circumstance, from making sure that you face justice under our constitutional rule of law. As Dr. King once said, the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends toward justice. Humbly, I would add, it doesn't bend on its own. History tells us we often have to apply what's needed to make sure that the arc gets where it needs to go. This is one of those times. I look forward to taking your questions in a few minutes, but first, I'd like to hand over our podium to Mayor Brandon Johnson.
So it looks like he's essentially saying they're not going to stop them, right? They're not going to stop them. They're right. They're not going to resist. They're going to fight it in court. They're going to fight it with large-scale peaceful protests, perhaps. But dude, it's fucking, dude, it's crazy though. Because, you know, I don't think he's going to stop there. Right? I think, you know, I mean, I don't know, dude. I don't know what's going to come of that, boss. I feel like at some point, somebody's going to have to be willing to stop Trump. You know what I mean? I mean, really, when you think about it, otherwise, what's going to prevent him from just, you know, sending in the military into every American city run by Democrats, right? And then he's going to like take over the police force of every American city, right? Like at some point, somebody's going to actually have to fucking say, no, we're not doing it. You're not getting in here. You know, somebody's going to have to say, no, you guys are not getting into this city, right? And then force their hand of if they need to get in that city, they're going to have to start shooting. You know what I mean? I mean, dude, yeah, it's fucked up, bro. Oh, so I want to see the Q&A. Let me see.
I'm going to take any questions from members of the media. Marianne.
Let's see what we got here with the Q&A. Let me get the audio set up. See what the questions are.
Yes, Governor, who has the legal authority? Have the authority to send?
Well, that's going to be litigated. Does Donald Trump have the legal authority? It's unconstitutional. It's against the law. We talked about 𝗙ecie 𝗶𝗀𝗀. There is no reason why American military can be or should be in American cities when there is not an insurrection.
Yeah, see, that's just it. You know, in the case of Los Angeles, there were like burning cars, and there was, you know, a like out of control, could be deemed out of control protest, right? Cops were having cinder blocks thrown at them. There was like a loophole in LA, right? Chicago's a little tougher. You know what I'm saying? Because there's no, right? There's no fucking, you know, there is like nothing going on in Chicago right now. You know, absolutely nothing. That as far as, you know what I mean? There's like no loophole for them. But again, even if the court says you can't do it, that, you know, there comes the point where when they fucking disobey the court and whatnot, and then what? Then what?
They are required, members of the Illinois National Guard are members of the military. And when they are called up according to Title 10 by the President of the United States, they are required to follow orders, just as they are when the governor calls them up under Title 32. Well, that's got to be determined. I exactly agree with the point that you're making. Yes. I'm sorry.
Are you planning a preemptive lawsuit for future action, or will you wait till Pritzker?
Maybe I can ask the Attorney General to talk about his.
We don't know exactly the exact circumstances in which the deployment would take place. So a preemptive lawsuit couldn't be targeted to a specific targeting of the military. So
yeah. So in other words, they have to wait. They have to wait and see what the federal government does, so they know how to target their lawsuit. So Trump moves first on the board.
We anticipate that, but we don't rule it out.
Governor,
I don't have a comment on that right now. Thank you.
Mayor Johnson.
No comment on that right now as well.
Governor Johnson, can you speak to the people of Chicago who are worried about going to work or to school, and who are worried about passing military techniques? Do you encourage people to stay home? How do you address that fear that is in Chicago right now?
You know, thank you for that question. The way we address the fear is that we stand firm together. That's why you have this full display today, that we are going to have the backs of working people across this city, and that any attempt to intimidate our people from being able to live their lives, that is the quintessential example of terrorism. And we will not bend, break, or bow to that type of tyranny. So we're going to continue to make sure that the people of Chicago know their rights, and business, philanthropic, labor, elected leaders, faith leaders. We're all going to put our arms around every single resident of this city to ensure that our way of life is not disrupted.
Governor, would you mind speaking a little bit more? Would you talk a little bit about, there are a lot of speakers who said it's uncoordinated. What happens if the Trump administration calls it and does want to coordinate?
Well, I think they'll hear exactly what I said today about whether we want them in the city of Chicago. We do not want troops on the streets of the city of Chicago. Let me be clear. And if he calls me, I will tell him that directly.
Governor, can you speak a little more pointedly about your messaging to staff at the White House that we are watching closely, we are taking names? What does that mean?
It simply means that people who are breaking the law, who are acting in unconstitutional fashion, will be held accountable, must be held accountable.
Yeah, see, I think this is one of the things that's going to get interesting, because eventually the power's going to swing, right? You know what I'm saying? They're not going to win forever, right? Republicans, whatever they're going through right now, eventually the power's going to swing. And there are people, Republicans right now, that are operating like unlawfully, like seriously unlawfully, breaking the Constitution on a fucking daily basis. You know what I mean? Like even sending in the National Guard to a city, right? Militarizing a city for no reason. That's unconstitutional. Okay? The shit they're doing with immigrants is unconstitutional. Lack of due process. The people that were sent to 𝗙ecie𝗶𝗆. I mean, so Pritzker is basically saying, when we get back in power, we're coming for you guys. You know what I mean? And like, this is kind of like, it's frightening, because this is what we're looking at now. We're looking at it like an internal sort of policing and prosecution war. You know what I mean? It's fucking brutal. Dude, pitchforks. Let's go, baby. Let's go. We love to see it with the 5 gifteds. Dude, it's fucked up, bro. It's fucked up that this is our reality, man.
Yes. Look, every single person that is the victim of violence in any city across the entire United States is worthy of our sympathy, and also worthy of having law enforcement go after the perpetrators. That is what we do in the city of Chicago. That is what we do in the state of Illinois. We will not give up on that. We will stand up for the people of the state of Illinois and the city of Chicago by following the law.
Would the CBD
I can speak for Chicagoans. Look, Chicagoans are not asking for a militarized force to occupy our city. We're not asking for that. I can tell you what Chicagoans are asking for. They want us to build more affordable housing. They want us to invest more in young people. They want us to ensure that we're creating mental and behavioral health care services. And do you know how I know that's what they want? It's because that's what's working. There's a 32% reduction in homicides. That's not an easy feat to accomplish. And we're doing that collectively. Chicagoans, Here's what Chicagoans want. We want a reimbursement from our tax dollars that we send to the federal government, to send it right back to the city of Chicago to ensure that we build safe and affordable communities. That's exactly what they want. Go ahead.
Yeah, but you know what sucks now, though? Here's what sucks, guys. This is one of the things that sucks. And let me just tell you, because what happens now is this, is that all of the economy, all of the money in America, almost all of it, like 70% of the money in America gets generated in these big cities. Chicago, Seattle, Portland, San Francisco, Los Angeles, fucking New York, Philadelphia, right? You know what I'm saying? Atlanta, right? These cities are the money makers. They're where all of the money, but they don't get that money back. Okay, Chicago pays a bunch of money to the federal government, and that money goes to Arkansas, to Oklahoma, to Kentucky, to West Virginia. You know what I'm saying? And then those states are fucking on welfare, essentially. And then simultaneously, they're crying about, like, we want to tell you how to live in those cities. And it's like, fuck off. You know what I mean? I mean, I've been getting in arguments on Twitter about the SNAP funds. Because here's the deal, guys. People have SNAP. And there's this myth about SNAP that, oh, SNAP is fucking poor families and they're using it to buy nothing but soda and junk food for their kids or whatever. But like, SNAP is supplemental. Nobody's living off SNAP. SNAP is additional funding for food. Poor people deserve to be able to have a fucking Coke or a Dr. Pepper or fucking some ice cream. You know what I'm saying? Like, just because they're poor, just because they need food assistance, doesn't mean they shouldn't be able to have some fucking soda or some snacks, okay? But the taxpayers, the Republican Christian motherfuckers are like, you poor people, no sodas, no nothing. You need to eat, you need to buy this, this, and this. They want to tell the poor, but I'm like, well, you know what? Fuck you, Texas. We pay for Texas. California pays for Texas. So California is going to tell the Texans how they get to spend their money, since Texas takes $80 billion a year of California's money to survive, right? You know what I mean? And like that shit is bullshit. Like, leave the fucking poor people alone. If they want to buy some fucking soda or candy with their SNAP, I don't fucking care. Let them stay out of their fucking business. Or then we, you know, the blue states should be able to tell the red states what they can spend their money on. Sorry, Oklahoma, no fucking soda for you, right? No Bibles for you motherfuckers, because we're paying for all your shit. You know what I mean? Like, dude, it's fucking outrageous. But it's just a constant onslaught of, like, poor people need to, like, suffer. They need to go without. They need to, right? You know what I mean? And that shit is fucking bullshit. Can I just show you something, though, guys? While we're here, I want to take a moment to share something with you that is pretty funny. Let me see if I saved it. I think I saved it. Oh, I guess I didn't save it. Hold on. You ready? This is going to be great, dude. Let me see. Oh, this one. Watch this. Look at this tweet. This is amazing. How do I get to the tweet from here? Oh, there it is. Dude, I hate this. Like, there we go. No. Dude, how do I get to the tweet itself from here? There it is. Okay. You ready? Look at this tweet, dude. Sorry, guys. I'm fucking being a boomer there for a sec. But look at this tweet. We could have had this, but got this instead. Dude, isn't that amazing? Boomer moment. Isn't that the greatest tweet? We could have had this, but we got this instead. Dude, that is literally like, that's America right now, bro. We literally could have had this, dude. But no, all the American men voted for this. You fucking dumb shit. Dude, isn't that fucking outrageous? Dude, I wish we had this, man. This would have been so much better. America could have had this. Instead, America voted for this. Jesus. Dude, I know they look so swollen. Dude, he looks like shit, bro. He, you know, dude, he looks disgusting, dude. He is, dude. Trump is a disgusting fucking pig, bro. He is, dude. Just a fucking pig. Uh-oh, Bill Clinton's trending. Dude, this is fake, right? This has to be fake, right? Yeah, oh, it's from Dotar. Dude, yeah, no, it's fake. You know it's fake. I was looking for the thing. It's from a Trump impersonation account. Dude, so funny, bro. Oh, man. All right. Hold on. As long as we're here on this, there is something I want to watch. Right? While we're on, I want to see this thing. There was a thing on the Maxwell files that I want to see that somebody had put in there. I'm curious about this lawyers.com. John Flannery. Oops, that's the wrong thing. Sorry. There we go.
Good evening. This is John Flannery. Normally we do a walk and talk, but today...
Who is John Flannery? He's a lawyer. It's this guy. John R. Flannery. Law and Politics. So he's some fucking legal guy. Some old legal guy that's going to talk a little bit. He is talking a little bit about Ghislaine Maxwell's testimony, her bullshit fucking testimony. Oh my God, dude, look at that. Somebody fucking already painted somebody already painted the sandwich guy on a wall. He does look a little bit like Robert Redford. Is he an MSNBC contributor? All right, so he's not a crazy. He looks pretty legit. Okay? From what I'm looking at, he looks pretty fucking legit. Dude, isn't this wild? That the age of consent look at how all of these fucking Bible states the age of consent is like a kid, bro. Right? Shit is wild, dude. It's 18 here in Oregon. Let's go. Dude. All right. So, yeah, so let's watch a little bit of this, shall we? All right. Dude, those Christians love their child brides. All right, here we go.
There was an issue, the Epstein case, that has specifically concerned me because the commentary is not precise. It doesn't describe the context in which the interview, for example, of Maxwell was done. It doesn't describe what was wrong with that entire thing, except in a kind of general fashion that people have some sort of conflict, and it's worse than that. It's criminal.
Dude, yeah, that her testimony was a complete rewriting of her criminal conviction, that with zero pushback from Donald Trump's personal lawyer, and trying to like shirk off her criminal conviction by blaming it all on a woman who can't defend herself, all done outside of the court of law under an umbrella of immunity, right? Like, dude, it's one of the craziest fucking things I've seen, boss.
And the delivery of the information on Friday was calculated to create this situation. And as the days pass, I expect people will get further and further away from the primary documents. So I thought it might be useful for those of us who care about equal justice before the law if I did a kitchen table analysis. And I'm doing it not for any, I hate the word performative, but not for any spectacular reason, except for the fact that if I shuffle the papers around as I talk to you, I can give you a more cohesive understanding, I think, of what's going on that's terribly wrong here. I mean, you sense it, but I want to put names on the things that are terribly wrong, that, as far as I can tell, have not been described in the fashion I'm going to do it. Now, number one, let's talk about the material we have to analyze. We have an indictment. We have a sentencing memo. We have the so-called interview of Maxwell by Blanche, a Justice Department tool, if you will, of Trump, who was Trump's counsel. And people mention that all the time, but there's more than that. So those are the items. And what I want to do is to give you the background of the charges, then tell you what Maxwell's role was, why we should be concerned about asking her questions now, and then the questions she was asked by Blanche, the context in which it happened, and why that was wrong as well. Okay, now I hope that's...
Dude, everything about that interview was, like, wrong. Everything about it.
Confusing, but I'm trying to make it, and I think my description of it will help make it, and I try and make this brief but to the point. Now, the indictment itself has a variety of allegations that I think concern us. And forgive me, I'm reaching around to get my hands on the documents so I can talk about them. Okay, so there's an overview in the indictment, and the docket number is 20 CR 330. You can get this by going online and just seeking and read it for yourself, the entire document, but that's one thing you can do. The other thing I do with documents in a case that start going into the hundreds of pages, and I've been involved in cases with thousands and thousands of pages, is take your document, put it in your iPad, put it in one of the programs that immediately index the words. If you have a PDF, you can index it. So in other words, you put all the stuff in a file that is searchable.
Yeah,
in other words,
it's
not
really
just a picture of a page. It actually allows you to read the words. And when you can do that, then you can search a document very quickly and find out what's wrong with it. And if you want to do the exercise yourself, I'm sure you'll find other things.
Yeah, dude, there was a lot. Obviously, there were a number of things that were wrong with that whole thing. Is even the questions, right, that Todd Blanche was asking her, describe the nature of your relationship from 1990 until his death, right? Why? What does that have to do with anything, right? I thought they were going there to talk about the people who had participated in this thing. And he basically just had her tell a story. How did you meet him? How did Jeffrey get into business? She was like giving hearsay testimony about what Jeffrey Epstein was doing at Bear Stearns and the Dalton School. You wouldn't do that in court. There's no such thing as a fucking, right? You wouldn't go in there and ask a witness in court to give a hearsay description of like what somebody did before they knew the person? Like, come on, man. It's ridiculous. It was ridiculous. And then he was like finishing her sentences and you know, like leading her to certain answers. Dude, what was the purpose? Well, I mean, the obvious purpose of Todd Blanche going there was he was going there to get Ghislaine Maxwell to put a specific version of Jeffrey Epstein and those events down. See, whatever they found in the files, right? Think about what happened leading up to this, guys. Okay, leading up to this, when they decided to bury the files, Donald Trump said, we're trying to go through and ascertain what is credible. Okay, so there's a whole bunch of shit in there in those files that they want to be not credible. So what they did was they have like the indictment and the court case against Ghislaine Maxwell. There's grand jury testimony. There's the investigation of Ghislaine Maxwell. All of that is down out in the world. It exists on hard copy, in files, in PDF documents. So now they came in here and she gave a version of all of that stuff that it was very different, I'm sure, than the information they have from her indictment, her case, and all those other investigations. So now they have a competing document of Ghislaine's interview, supposedly the mastermind, the inside person that's giving an account of Epstein and what went on that probably refutes like 30 or 40% of what's in the Epstein files. So that was on purpose. They wanted to create something that refutes everything they want to call not credible. Okay, so now every way that Ghislaine Maxwell's interview like diverges from what is in the Epstein files, they're going to make the claim that what's in the Epstein files is not credible, that Ghislaine's account is the real one. But see, here's the problem, guys, is they like, it wasn't under oath. It wasn't videotaped like normal depositions are videotaped. Okay, they're videotaped, right? There's no videotape. There's some audio recordings. They were talking off camera before that. You don't do that in depositions. It's like you hit record, you do the deposition, you hit stop. That's it. This shit was all spliced up and they were talking before. They were talking on breaks, right? They were like, we don't know what was going on in the room. The whole thing just stinks to high heaven. But it was all to create a narrative that ostensibly is assigning a whole bunch of blame onto this, you know, dead girl and trying to like exonerate Ghislaine or lay a foundation of him being able to pardon her. And they're like, well, look at her testimony. She didn't really do anything. I mean, you know, it was purposeful. Like they did that on purpose. They did that on purpose. And she had notes. Okay. Remember how he met with her and then she went back to the jail cell with that like postal bin. Okay. Before this interview or whatever, or like she had notes, you know what I mean? Like they like, I think they asked her to prepare a fucking statement for this thing, you know? Yeah, they relitigated the case for propaganda. Exactly. That is well said. That's well said.
Because there's quite a number of pages involved here. So on the indictment, for example, it says from at least on or about 1994 up to and including at least in or about 1997, Maxwell assisted, facilitated, and contributed to Jeffrey Epstein's abuse of minor girls by, among other things, helping Epstein to recruit, groom, and ultimately abuse victims known to Maxwell and Epstein to be under the age of 18. The victims were as young as 14 years old, and when they were groomed and abused by Maxwell and Epstein, both of whom knew that certain victims were in fact under the age of 18. In other words, you don't have deniability here. Now, in another place it says, Maxwell, quote, in an effort to conceal her crimes, She repeatedly lied when questioned about her conduct, including in relation to some of the
Committing
minor victims
perjury
described herein when providing testimony under oath in 2016. The government charged her with perjury because of the lies she told, the alleged lies she told in 2016. A prosecutor at the time said that he had no interest in talking to her, no interest in talking about cooperation. That was the Justice Department before the Injustice Department of Trump and Blanche and others.
Yeah. So in other words, when they first like litigated this shit, she committed perjury, and that's why they stopped talking to her, because she was lying. And yes, she did not testify in her own case.
Now, the next page that I think is interesting is Maxwell and Epstein's victims. And again, we're still looking at the indictment. It says between approximately in or about 1994 and in or about 1997, and do suffer, there is some repetition among prosecutors. I know, I was one of those guys. The defendant facilitated Jeffrey Epstein's access to minor victims by, among other things, inducing and enticing and aiding and abetting the inducement and enticement of multiple minor victims. Victims were groomed and or abused at multiple locations. And how they were groomed was they'd be taken out shopping, they'd be given gifts, we're going to help you with your career, we're going to do all sorts of things.
We're going to pay for your college. That's what they did with Annie Farmer.
Because there was a woman around, it didn't make other adults suspicious. The children.
Now, I want to add something here, guys, from this book that I'm reading about Sarah Ransom. And Sarah Ransom was one of the women who was groomed. She was a little older than the others, but Sarah Ransom was one of the ones that was held captive at the island for long stretches. But Sarah Ransom said something that was really interesting, and it was the real power of Ghislaine, because Ghislaine came from a very, very upper class family. Like extraordinarily upper class, okay? Robert Maxwell, they had a yacht, they had lots of money, private planes. She was very upper class. She was very graced in etiquette and the rules of society. And so what was interesting to hear Sarah Ransom talk about it was how Ghislaine Maxwell like won over all these girls, because the girls that were picked were like from the other side of the tracks. They were from trailer parks. They were from lower class, lower middle class homes. And Ghislaine Maxwell like dressed really well. She was fashionable. She was high society. She spoke with her sort of Mary Poppins, sort of British, almost royalty sounding accent. She was very like elegant and aristocratic in a way that these young girls were just taken in by her. They were like, oh my God, she's like a high society girl. She's like a princess. And so these troubled girls like were so won over by Ghislaine because she was like so eloquent and so like aristocratic, sort of loving, nurturing, kind of like high society, motherly type, that they didn't consider her to be harmful at all. Yeah, she was safe. She was somebody to look up to. They aspired to her. You know what I mean? They aspired to be like her. And so she used that to win their trust and to win their like adoration and their like the way they looked up to her as like a leader and somebody who was going to take care of them and teach them the ways of like high society, how to fit in with the models and the stars and, you know, the royalty, you know, the Prince Andrew, you know what I mean? And then she fucked them all over, right? She was like the predator of all predators that came in being like the safe, squeaky clean, like I'm so good and like wondrous and like such a royal type person that I'm going to protect you from everybody. And then she was literally knifing them in the back at every opportunity. And it's like so manipulative, okay? It is like so manipulative. It's like really, really unnerving, right? It is unnerving how right, and it is similar to cult leaders, and it's similar to the things that like predatory politicians or business leaders do, right? When you go, right, when people would go and you meet the head of a studio, this guy's running the whole show. Everybody's lives are in the head of the studio. You go have a meeting with him and surely he's going to take care of you. Everybody's looking at him. He's the safest guy there, right? He's the guy that has to watch his behavior, but no, he's the sneakiest, most down and dirty, manipulative, right? That's the way it was, man. She was just so deceitful. She set them up and won their trust and let them all put her on a pedestal of like, she's going to guide them and take care of them. And then she fucking totally like turned on them all and was so, I think it's the way Sarah Ransom put it too, that she was like cold and completely unfeeling, right? She had no problem if her behavior was just going to completely devastate those young girls. She just did not care. She did not see them as human or as like, you know what I mean? They were trash to her completely.
Children were probably too young to declare what was going on, humiliated and embarrassed. We often hear, particularly in rape cases, and it takes years and years for people to come forward. So, and the indictment has pictures and it has more details, but I'm trying to do this in a summary fashion because this background is important to consider what the devil the interview was with Maxwell by Blanche. So, in and around 2016, in the context of a deposition as part of civil litigation, Maxwell, the defendant, repeatedly provided false and perjurious statements under oath regarding, among other subjects, her role in facilitating the abuse of minor victims by Jeffrey Epstein, including some of the specific events and acts of abuse detailed below.
Okay, so what he's talking about is in the way Ghislaine Maxwell went is when Jeffrey was originally arrested in 2007, 2006, in that first thing, Ghislaine Maxwell was not in those proceedings, okay? She was earlier in the 90s, okay? By the time they busted Jeffrey Palm Beach, it was like Sarah Kellen, Adriana Ross, and Leslie Groff, and Nadia Marcinkova, okay? Then Epstein gets busted in 2005, and then Ghislaine Maxwell is still there, but she was not like involved with setting up the girls. Those lower lieutenants, if you will, were handling the girls themselves. But what happened is Ghislaine got civilly sued. After Jeffrey got let off, a bunch of the victims filed a civil suit against Ghislaine, and that's what she was being deposed for in 2016, okay, was this civil suit. And that's where she committed perjury and got caught lying and shit like that. And then by the time they came back and prosecuted her after Epstein died, they no longer sought to even get testimony from her because they knew that she was like a completely unreliable witness. I want to see who sued her. Let me see who sued her. So it was Virginia Giuffre sued Ghislaine Maxwell in September 2015 for defamation. Okay, so that's what it was. Okay, so what happened was, so Virginia Giuffre came out with comments about sexual abuse, and then Maxwell commented about Virginia Giuffre, and then Virginia sued her for defamation, okay, in 2015, and accused her then of recruiting and grooming, okay, and another person known as Jane Doe number 3, okay? So let me see here. I want to try and get the goods on this. So Maxwell publicly called Virginia Giuffre a liar for when she said she was a victim run by her and Epstein. And then Virginia Giuffre sued her for defamation. And then the case was settled. Okay. And it led to unsealing of thousands of documents and Maxwell's deposition, which is what he's talking about. So it was the process of Virginia suing for defamation that I think unlocked all the documents that later allowed the government to prosecute fucking, Ghislaine Maxwell. So that is pretty fucking crazy, dude. Extensive discovery. Various third parties. Oh, and that's where Julie Brown, those were the documents that led to Julie K. Brown reopening this case. So, dude, it's crazy. If Virginia hadn't filed that suit, and if they hadn't gone through the discovery of that suit, like Julie K. Brown would have probably not cracked this thing in 2019. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Isn't that nuts? Dude, that's crazy to think that, like, Virginia Giuffre is probably almost single-handedly responsible for opening the floodgates on this thing, man. That is wild. Isn't that crazy? So, yeah. Dude, that is nuts. Dude. Unfucking believable, dude. Right? And then what ended up happening is, surprise, surprise, okay, is that, like, after the documents got unsealed, okay, the defamation suit, Ghislaine Maxwell was fighting to prevent that from being unsealed, right? Isn't that wild? Dude, of course she did. Of course she fucking did, bro. Like, Ghislaine Maxwell was fighting to prevent any of that information from coming out. Dude, it's so dirty, man. It's so unbelievably fucking dirty, dude. It's beyond dirty.
And I'm going to give you a couple of them, because I think the frame of reference for what she is alleged to have lied about before, because she was convicted in this case and was sentenced to 20 years, they did not prosecute the perjury cases. But consider what they have in existing sworn testimony as follows. Question: did Jeffrey Epstein have a scheme to recruit underage girls for sexual massages? If you know. Answer: this is by Maxwell. I don't know what you're talking about. You can play the tape and hear the voices.
Yikes.
Well, but see, when they give you the voice, people sit there and listen to hours for that. That's not the way to find out what something is about, when you can scan it and index it. And that's all I've done here. I've done it because I asked questions in the search that I thought I would find.
Dude, I like this guy a lot, actually.
And I'll get to some of those before we finish. But in terms of the logic of it, another question was, list all the people under the age of 18 that you interacted with at any of Jeffrey's properties.
Oh, okay? Shit.
And so what does Maxwell say? I'm not aware of anybody that I interacted with other than, obviously, the plaintiff, who was 17 at this point. I don't know what that means, but that's what she said.
Dude, she was literally saying, I never interacted with anyone who was underage except for Virginia, who was 17, dude.
Under oath. Now, she was convicted, and it was a pretty sound conviction. And there
were a lot of witnesses, like abused people who had been abused by Ghislaine Maxwell that were witnesses. And I mean, that's the thing that's really hard about this whole scenario, is that Ghislaine wasn't just like a paper pusher. She was one of the abusers. She was actively abusing people, right? Dude, should we set up a dance goal? I'm going to set it up. Let's see if we can get a dance goal before we go. All right, let's go. Dance party. Let's go, baby. There it is. Let's see if we can bring that shit home. Oh! 59 minutes. Let's go, baby. We're going to dance.
Extensive sentencing memo submitted to the court by the prosecutors. And one of the principal prosecutors was a professional AUSA by the name of Comey, and the name is familiar
Maureen
to you
Comey.
She's the daughter of the former FBI director that also went after the truth and got...
See, remember, Maureen Comey prosecuted Ghislaine Maxwell. And who did Trump fire? Maureen Comey. Dude, he fired her to get her out of the building, right? You know what I mean? So she would no longer have access to her, like, U.S. government shit. Isn't that crazy? Another important, like, piece of this puzzle. Maureen Comey prosecuted Ghislaine Maxwell. He fired her. So now she doesn't have access to any of her files. She doesn't have access to any of the information about the case, right? They got rid of her. They got her out of the building. I mean, not an accident, guys.
In trouble with Trump. Trump can't well, you can't handle the truth. That's who Trump is. So let's go to in the sentencing memo, they identify a couple of the victims. Now, you can do this exercise with all the victims if you want. But here's the thing. If, in fact, we get to a point where all of a sudden I say, why don't I talk to Maxwell and ask her about this and go after some of the Johns instead of just her and Epstein, which is all this indictment was basically, although others are mentioned in the indictment. And so there are two instances among, I think, 7. And one is sexual abuse of Virginia Roberts. Now, I direct your attention to her for a number of reasons. One, she worked at Mar-a-Lago. 2, the story is that she was lured to do something she wanted to do, which was to be a masseuse.
By the way, Virginia Roberts is Virginia Giuffre. That was her name at the time.
And that's where Maxwell came in, and I'll get into the detail a little bit. And then here's the kicker. We all know that Epstein died under suspicious circumstances. I investigated and prosecuted corruption cases in the Metropolitan Correctional Center many years ago. So I couldn't tell you what the situation is now. But when powerful people are involved and photographs that are misleading are offered as explanations and missing bits of tape are there, that's something you investigate.
Absolutely.
Unless you have an interest in remaining invisible.
Dude.
So first, let's talk about Virginia Roberts. This is the government's summation to the sentencing court. Beginning in or about the summer of 2000, the defendant and Epstein, so that's Maxwell and Epstein, entered a new phase of their scheme to sexually abuse teenage girls. Don't get upset about the grammar. That summer, Maxwell recruited a 17-year-old girl named Virginia Roberts from the parking lot of Mar-a-Lago to provide Epstein with massages. Okay, now, you may
From the parking lot, bro.
remember from the public information we're getting, that Trump went out and said, oh, you know, Epstein, he took one of my employees, and because of that, that was the end of our relationship. And there have been contradictions in the timeline in which he says this happened. But you wonder, was this woman who worked at Mar-a-Lago an essential employee?
No.
Or was she something else?
She was not. She was like a towel girl in the spa who wanted to be a massage therapist. It's somebody who disappearing from Mar-a-Lago and going and getting another job would not have a material effect on Trump at all. Now, there is a catch. Her dad was a groundskeeper at Mar-a-Lago, so her father also worked there. So there was a family connection.
Now, that's a good question for Trump. It is a question that is amazingly injudicious to overlook. And it is and can be the reason that we're in the box we are, in which we're insisting that we get all the information they have and they're giving us the finger. So, over the next several months, Virginia was paid to provide Epstein with sexualized massages at his Palm Beach residence in exchange for hundreds of dollars in cash for each massage. Virginia also traveled with Epstein and Maxwell to other locations, including New York and the Virgin Islands, on Epstein's private plane. Virginia brought other teenage girls to Epstein's Palm Beach house. One of those girls was a 14-year-old girl named Carolyn, who Virginia introduced to the defendant, Maxwell, and Epstein at the Palm Beach villa in 2001. Thus began, so the government says, the pyramid scheme phase of the defendant and Epstein's abuse of teenage girls.
All right, now the pyramid scheme was like girls bringing other girls. So the way it went is like Virginia would bring a girl, and that girl would go and do a massage, and then she could make money by bringing other girls. Because the thing about Epstein is he didn't want the same girl every day. He wanted a new girl like every time. So a girl could go and give him a massage and make a couple $100, but then if she went and found 3 girls, she made like $200 for each girl. So now she could make more money by finding other girls and then she's not even being abused in the process. Right? So that's how it became this pyramid scheme of every girl finding another couple girls. And Epstein's just, he had endless amounts of money, just hundreds of bucks, every pop. So these girls were able to make, if they found 5 girls, that's $1,000. That's a lot of money in 2001. Okay. You know what I mean? That's a lot of cash. Right? And then those 5 girls each go and find 5 girls and so on and so forth. And it just becomes this, networking web of endless supply.
Okay, so now let's talk about the 14-year-old girl. The sexual abuse of Carolyn. Carolyn visited Epstein's Palm Beach residence more than 100 times, during each of which she was sexually abused.
Dude, more than 100 times. That's insane.
And paid sexual massages. Carolyn met the defendant the very first time she went to Epstein's house, and she interacted with the defendant multiple times thereafter. On Carolyn's first visit to the house of the defendant...
More than 100 times. Hold on one sec here, because I've been having trouble with getting fucking demonetized, so I'm just gonna let this play. Greeted Virginia. Okay, I want to just make sure we're sort of like Virginia showed Carolyn how to do it. Okay. I've been having shit get monetized. So she did over 100 times. She did that. Fucking over 100 times she went to Epstein. That's insane.
Now, let's talk about Virginia Roberts for a second. She was available at the time of the trial. This was a summary of what her experience was. And in recent days, when the Epstein case has been the focus, a woman who had no cause living in Australia to be depressed. In fact, all accounts were that she was pretty comfortable and glad for her life. She committed suicide. So her connection to Carolyn remains in a transcript, but she is no longer with us. And if you think this sounds like the kind of stuff that amateur mobsters do, spot on. Okay, now, I have chosen a few pages because we're going on, and I don't want you to lose interest, because I think this is that one can do more than I've done. But what I did was I searched the document that I scanned and turned into a searchable set of words and so forth. And you may remember the public version, but let me tell you what actually happened in that room. The Todd Blanche, who is a friend of the counsel to Maxwell, they put together this proposition.
Dude, that's crazy. I did not realize that Ghislaine's lawyer and Todd Blanche, in addition to Todd Blanche being Donald Trump's personal lawyer, Todd Blanche is also friends with Ghislaine's fucking lawyer. You know, that's insane.
So Todd Blanche as the Deputy Attorney General, but a man with a conflict who has represented a person, Trump, who has a distinct interest in this going away. He has a distinct interest in justifying pardons so it may go away. And Todd Blanche, in the deposition of Maxwell, said, "And my name is Todd Blanche. I'm the Deputy Attorney General. And before we start formally asking questions of Ms. Maxwell, I'm going to put on the record everybody that's in the room." And he does. Now, in my long experience, more than 50 years, of asking questions, first in the streets and then as a lawyer, prosecutor, defense counsel, I've done a lot, and I've been honored to have opportunities in the law. But I would never do what this bastard did. And the assistants that I knew in the Southern District and in the Justice Department, despite differences ones would have about policy and details, nothing compared to the outrages that are committed here. And that nobody on the air says, this is outrageous, this is an abusive process, this is a potential criminal investigation, and I'll get into that. So, did you know there was any agreement about the testimony Maxwell was going to give? I don't think so. Maybe. I looked for it. I didn't see it. I can't say it didn't happen, but so Todd Blanche, and there's some talk back and forth, says, "So before we started recording, we met for a few minutes." Was that a few minutes? Was that 20 minutes? Was that 100 minutes?
Yeah.
And now
that was weird.
I've told you that we're going on the record. And before we start asking questions, I know what you've been given by your lawyer, a copy of what's called a proffer agreement. Okay, so now this is not language that you would normally use, probably. I mean, you understand English, so you know it means something. I'm going to tell you something. Okay, when do you have a proffer agreement as a prosecutor? You have it when you're building a case and somebody says, don't indict me for 3 felonies. Indict me for 1 felony and 1 misdemeanor, and I'll give you cooperation that will justify you dropping the other charges and making your case. And the government says, well, how am I going to know that what you have is worthwhile? Well, I'll sit here and I'll tell you, and then you make a judgment. Okay, so that brings us to a separate question.
Yeah, that's crazy because she's already been convicted, right? There's like, what case? They're not even building a case, right? Why is there a proffer agreement? That's really weird.
Blanche says to her, what this agreement does for you is it gives you protection. So what it means, and I'm quoting exactly what Blanche said. So what it means is that the government cannot use what you say today against you, with some exceptions, which we'll talk about in a minute. And then he goes on and says, whatever you talk about today, says it a second time, you have what's called immunity. So that means that the words that you say today, we cannot use against you in a case in chief if we were ever to bring one, okay? What's the flaw with that? What is the flaw with that? Now, I think it goes like this. If I'm Blanche in that room, I know what the indictment said. I know what the sentencing memo said. I know the sentencing memo said they didn't want 20 years. They wanted 50 years for what she did. That's the old Justice Department, my old office in the Southern District of New York. So I know that. And so I also know that she was charged with perjury. So she lies, and she's lied about material aspects of the very conspiracy that they're talking to her about in this meeting. So I'm calling upon a witness. I have a conflict because I'm really doing this for Mr. Trump. And
dude, it's so
and then
dirty.
in addition, I am vouching for a person as a witness
who's
known
known perjurer.
and I'm going to ask her about those things. Okay, so you see the picture. Now, the question, is there a punchline for this? And the answer is yes. Maxwell, let's see, how does it go here? Okay, 108.
Dude,
108
it's so
page
corrupt.
number on
Unbelievably
the
corrupt.
transcript of the exchange, mostly between Blanche and Maxwell. On page 108, Blanche says, "Do you know whether masseuses from Mar-a-Lago spa ended up giving private massages to Mr. Epstein?" Who are we talking about? Who is that?
Virginia.
That's Virginia.
Yeah.
That's Virginia who died by suicide. That is Virginia who had the conversations with Carolyn. Gone, right? So then he says, I'm not, and this is not the way you ask questions, by the way. I'm not asking for what you have read, but from, at the time, from your personal knowledge. Do you know whether that's true? Response by Maxwell, under oath. I don't recall. You don't recall? Now, what would I say at that point? I don't recall. How is that possible? You've lived with this case. You prepared for trials about this case. You were with him every day.
Yeah.
You're involved in high numbers of these instances, and you don't recall?
Right.
But I don't remember. I don't remember that, she says. So I don't want to. I don't recall that. But it's possible. Todd Blanche, doing his best reconstruction of her testimony, says, do you have a recollection of you ever recruiting a masseuse from Mar-a-Lago Spa to give private massage to Mr. Epstein? Now, Trump has complained about them taking her away from him.
Yes. It's like literally it is Trump himself said this happened, right? This, I mean, dude, there's no
and
question.
The person who took, when I say her, we're talking about Virginia. The person who took Virginia away from Mar-a-Lago was Maxwell.
Yeah.
And Trump claims that based on somebody being taken from his Mar-a-Lago workplace, he therefore ceased all relations with Epstein, which is not true, but that's a whole other thing. So what does she say? I've never recruited masseuse from Mar-a-Lago for that, as far as I can remember. I can't ever recollect doing that. Okay, but what do you hear? What do you hear when she says that? Now, what's the problem? She just said something that contradicted the evidence. She just lied with immunity, but she doesn't have immunity for lying. She has to tell the truth, and she didn't. And she was questioned by a man who knew the truth we know. What is his obligation here? His obligation
is to prosecute her.
Right then was to warn her that
right.
You have a right to have counsel present, however incompetent this asshole might be who's sitting here.
You're going to be prosecuted.
And I should be arrested for impersonating a Justice Department employee because I am not doing anything that's investigative.
Dude, he said Blanche should say I should be arrested for fucking impersonating a Justice Department employee.
I'm trying to create a proffer that clears my former client, still my current client, as as being a member of the Injustice Department. So now keep this in mind. Now there's more. It's been a long time. Let me see if I got this right here. 108, 109. 107. You know the pictures of Trump and Epstein and Maxwell. Now this is a sign of a lawyer. He's no prosecutor.
Dude, Blanche was not even a lawyer during this thing, bro. He was like terrible, right?
The question is, you're in some of these photographs. Yeah, she says, yes, Todd Blanche as well. Those all appear to be social settings. He says that. He leads her to that. He is preparing her to say, yeah, sure, because it works for her exculpatory stance in this manifestation.
Yeah, dude, he was leading her all over the place. Remember the one we looked at the other day where he's like, she's like, I never saw anything. And Blanche was like non-consensual. And she was like, oh yes, I never saw anything non-consensual.
Well, I see I'm going on a little bit. And I have to say that is one of the things that I do. But here's a kicker. On the second day, they all come back. And I'm just going to focus on one of these. And you can go through them. I know there are for certain others in here. But here's the one. On the next day, starting at pages 217 through 219, Todd Blanche says, good morning, Ms. Maxwell. How are you? And Maxwell says, good morning. And Toad, good. So the proffer agreement we signed yesterday, there's a place on it for us to all kind of initial. What is he doing? What is he doing? He is saying that the document that she just contradicted the day before wasn't initialed and they didn't sign on it and they didn't agree to it.
Oh,
Why?
shit.
Because they want to not have to act upon it to prosecute her for perjury.
Oh, crazy. So they gave her a proffer agreement. She lied all day, and then they had her initial it the next day?
What are they doing there?
Dude, that's so fucked up.
And then she says, here? And he says, right there. Oh, it's okay. And then Todd says, and then Mr. Marcus, her attorney, will, and he says, yes. And Todd said, initial as well, thank you. And just to this is Todd Blanche speaking, before we get going, I just say that exactly the same folk that were here when we met yesterday are here today. So I'm not going to do formal introductions, blah, 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 blah. So then we get into it. So I think the easiest thing to start with, is there anything we talked about yesterday that we're going to go through some more names? I think that's one of the places that we were interrupted just because there was lots of names. But aside from additional names, is there anything you want to kind of follow up on that we talked about yesterday, or anything you thought maybe you remember more of or not? Does that sound like a prosecutor to you, or does that sound like saying, you better correct that shit you said yesterday because that was a lie, and you're going to embarrass all of us and screw your own deal and screw me, and I'm going to lose my bar license? That would be a positive thing. So Maxwell says, some more names did come to me in the night. She couldn't remember things the day before, but now names have come to her.
Yes.
On little message pads. I don't know. And I did have some additional memories just for clarity.
Oh, shit.
I believe I said that I couldn't think of anybody who I may have asked for Mar-a-Lago, but then I realized that the allegation at least is that I met, deleted, in Mar-a-Lago. And so
yeah, this is crazy.
I felt that I needed to address that. And I didn't want to leave that hanging because that seems weird under the circumstances. And also, but I couldn't remember anyone. And maybe it's a long period of time. So the issue is not that I'm trying to not say, but I don't remember anybody that I would have. But it's not impossible that I might have asked someone from there. Blanche says, I don't know exactly what you said yesterday. Really?
Yeah, dude, they've got a fucking transcript. But that's crazy, though, because now they have a whole bunch of transcript of her lying, and then they have the transcript of her fixing those lies on day 2, but they also have copy of her, like, with the omission that, that if somebody's not going to go dig in there, they can spread all that shit around.
He doesn't know what was said the day before. If it wasn't so important, it'd just be pathetic and you kick him in the ass and go down the road. But this stuff is destroying America. This highway robbery of justice, turning our law enforcement into the injustice department, is not acceptable. So Blanche says, I don't know exactly what you said yesterday, but I don't think what you said yesterday is different than what you just said.
Oh, my God.
So, yes, what she just said is, I'm not sure I remember it, but I want to remember it enough so you can't prosecute me for perjury. But, when you say I don't recall and you remember everything else around it and new names the night before,
It's fucking bullshit.
the I don't recall defense disappears.
Yeah.
Do you think this Justice Department is going to investigate and prosecute this? Do you think they're
No.
going to say you shouldn't get a pardon because of it? What do you think?
No, they're not.
And then she says, okay, I just didn't want to feel that I said no to something that and Blanche says, blank definitely has said that she was working at Mar-a-Lago. Whoa. And that you received a treatment from her at some point, and that you recruited her to meet Mr. Epstein. And then she says, right. Blanche says, do you know affirmatively whether that's true or false, or do you just not have memory either way? Maxwell, I really don't believe it's true. Whoa. She wants to have it both ways. I don't remember it, and it's not true. But I know that I did go to spas.
Dude,
plural.
it's brutal.
And if I met someone, I did ask if they're, so I don't, in the realms of possibility, it could have, but I have no memory of it. Okay, you can do more. The bottom line is this woman lied under oath, that the prosecutor led her to that lie, did not correct it, and knew before he put her on the witness stand under oath that she was going to lie. Because if she was going to say anything exculpatory of Trump and of their abuse of children, he knew that. Or he came there and he had no idea. He hadn't read a single newspaper, single document, the FBI report, any of the reports, anything. And our coverage of this event is like this was a regular proceeding. This was not.
Yeah.
This was corruption in plain view out there so everybody could watch it, and then published on a Friday so we could look at it.
Yeah.
So I've gone on a little long. I apologize. It's about 29 minutes.
No, that was a great breakdown. And I mean, I want to add one other thing too that I found particularly deceitful, guys, was how they didn't redact the boyfriend's name. Okay? You know what I'm saying? Like, they specifically in that document redacted Virginia's name, but they left her boyfriend's name, Tony Figueroa, unredacted. They left the guy who had traumatized her, Ron Eppinger, unredacted. So what happened is when they talked about Virginia, even with their redacted, by leaving those other names unredacted, you knew who they were talking about. They made it so you were certain every time she was talking about Virginia. And I thought that that was particularly toxic because to protect the victims, they should have redacted those names as well. They should have redacted every name that would help you identify the victim. And they didn't do it. They set it up so you would know that she was blaming Virginia. They set it up so you could see that she was using this dead girl as the fall guy for her entire case, trying to say she's innocent. She didn't know anything. Jeffrey didn't even do any of that until Virginia showed up. However, Ghislaine's indictment dealt with 94 to 97. Okay, she got indicted for shit that happened 3 years before they met Virginia Giuffre. Okay, this was and Maria Farmer, Annie Farmer, they called the FBI in 96. But that purposeful unredacting of the boyfriend that is one of the most nefarious things I've ever seen done in a deposition. I mean, this was hardly a deposition because he was finishing the sentences. They weren't challenging her to tell the truth, but purposely leaving stuff unredacted so you can identify people in it. Like, that's the kind of shit where you feel like, dude, people should get disbarred for that. That is like in a high profile case like this, that's gnarly. And so they completely set it up to like fuck her over. That's extraordinary, guys. I've never seen anything like that. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, dude, I've read a lot of this kind of like legal shit because of being obsessed with serial killers and having like everybody I went to college with, like all my fucking friends for like 20 fucking years were lawyers, right? So while they were all becoming partners and shit, I was always like a sounding board for these guys. You just don't do that shit. like the legal profession, can I go on and say this, that the legal profession is like one of the most careful professions out there? Because if you don't like dot a T or cross an I, you lose a case that could be like millions in damages, or a criminal like getting set free. Like they are one of the most thorough and excessively overcorrecting, like make sure everything is fucking done to the T. They don't make any fucking mistakes. They are so thorough. Like they don't make those kinds of errors. And like the sloppiness and the fucking half-assedness that this whole thing was done with, like purposely doing that kind of shit, is like legal professionals don't make those kinds of mistakes. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? And that's that's the way it is, dude. It's like they don't make those mistakes. So that shit was like crazy. It was crazy to see them be so sloppy and so like ramshackle with this thing. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Like, you just don't, man. They are so obsessive. Dude, I'm watching Better Call Saul right now, actually. But like, dude, lawyers are so obsessive. You know what I'm saying? They literally are. You check that shit 1,000 fucking times, bro. You know what I mean? And if not, heads will roll. Dude, that shit is crazy. Fucking A, man. Yeah, that guy's good, though. Cross an I and dot a T. Dude, I may have said that. Cross a T, dot an I. You know what I meant, right? Blanche blew this one. Dude, Blanche, though, I don't think he blew it. I feel like I feel like this shit was fucking purposeful. You know? You know what I mean? They're purposeful. Like, they made sure that they got a, like, you know, they got the exoneration of Trump. They got the exoneration of Clinton. They got like the exoneration of anybody other than Epstein. They got, you know, a bunch of Ghislaine being like, I never saw anything. I don't even know what you're talking about. And then the next day she covered it and made sure she can't get prosecuted for it. But they also then have a copy to put out there, right? Because you got to remember that, you know, Blanche does this thing, and then Blanche, you know, there's a whole like network of right-wing influencers that are going to use the specific, Ghislaine Maxwell didn't know anything. You know, all of this was Virginia Giuffre, right? Like, Epstein never did anything untoward. You know, Trump never did anything. There's a whole like network of people that are going to use those specific sound bites and those alone, you know? But man, dude, you know what I'm saying? That shit is just crazy. Is this interview? So the thing about this is Trump could pardon her, but I think this interview, I think it served multiple functions as I see it. And I mean, there's more to be learned here. Okay. But obviously on the short term, it provided right-wing influencers with a lot of sound bites and material bites of like screenshots of legal documents to be able to, Ghislaine Maxwell, who knows better than anyone, just exonerated Trump. So you have these little bits for the Trump didn't do anything PR campaign. Okay. You have bits for the Ghislaine didn't do anything and she was wrongfully convicted, so therefore she deserves the pardon PR campaign. Okay, they established enough of a groundwork that if Trump pardons her, the right-wing influencers can flood the zone with all of this shit that is seemingly Ghislaine showing us under oath with, you know, the Department of Justice attorney where you can't lie, right? It's almost like they created a simulated court environment that's not really a court to make it seem like they got her under oath, proving that she was wrongfully prosecuted. So therefore, it's okay for Trump to pardon her. Okay, it's a setup for him to be able to pardon her in order for being quiet, right? And then they have receipts of like, this is why Trump pardoned her. Okay, so there's that, right? The other part was obviously with them to be able to shed a negative light on Virginia Giuffre and make it seem like she was the ringleader or what have you. She can't defend herself because she's, no longer on the planet. They have created some credible, like in their eyes, an opposing narrative to whatever may exist in the actual Epstein files. So now they have something on record, on legal record, that is a counter story. Okay, that if something in the Epstein files disagrees with what Ghislaine said, they can be like, well, we don't know which one of these accounts is accurate, right? We think it's Ghislaine's because the other one was, a Department of Justice that was like out to get her, right? So that's like, this thing accomplishes a lot of shit to shed a reasonable doubt upon what's in the Epstein files. But the thing is, those Ghislaine's already been convicted, man. She already got tried for this shit. You don't get to, after your conviction, go out and refute your conviction in a legal setting and have your refuting of the conviction become the new sort of standard of the story. That's unheard of, bro. That shit doesn't happen. Like, never in the, you know what I mean? That shit just doesn't happen. I mean, Ted Bundy tried to do that shit, but you get to appeal, but you don't do your appeal out in fucking social media. You do that in court. And a lot of people are never going to see that shit until years later because the court's going to seal those documents for a while, right? So this is like they sort of retried her conviction in a public forum, and because the documents from her trial are still held under wraps, this is the only public record we have of it, right? You know what I mean? You have the indictment of hers, but you don't have all her court proceedings. So the only public record is now Ghislaine and Todd Blanche's little fucking made up story, dude. Oh my God. This is like the dirtiest. We got 23 minutes. We need 4 more. Like I said, I think he's called it pathetic. I think this is one of the biggest sort of travesties of justice that I have ever seen. Like, I really don't know that I've ever seen something more openly corrupt, like right in front of us. And oddly, though, like the whole world's not like calling out like, wow, goddamn, that's openly corrupt. People are just sort of like, huh? You know what I mean? Like, this is one of the most openly corrupt, like, manipulations of an already tried case in the public forum that I have ever seen, with a Department of Justice official being in on the corruption right out in the open, like right out in the fucking open. It is fucking crazy, dude. Dude, it is crazy. And yeah, everybody does know he's guilty, but everybody knowing he's guilty doesn't mean that like he's not derailed yet, But I'm going to go to the bathroom, dude. Enjoy this lovely song, dude. I'll be back in a sec. It's a big waste of time. Oh, shit. Let's go. Dude, yeah, that shit is crazy, bro. Just fucking crazy. So, you know, can we look at something else? Can we change gears to something that's tabloidy and a little less, like, overwhelming? So, check this out. So, you know who followed me today on Twitter is Z. You remember Z? She was in that with Cenk Uygur, right? With Cenk Uygur, she was one of the Democrats in there. She is a TikTok fucking personality. She was on the Unfuck America tour. She's really great. I love her. She's like a boots on the ground person, very much voter registration. Right now, she's really trying to, like Democrats are getting their asses kicked in voter registrations. Okay, they are, like, because you have Charlie Kirk and Scott Presler going out to, like, gun shows and farmers markets and frat houses, and they're just registering young people as Republicans and giving them merch and shit. And Democrats aren't doing that. Democrats are like focusing on messaging, and the Democratic Party is very split right now with, you know, these leftists that are very much sort of policy oriented, but none of them are actually running and winning elections. And then there's Democrats that are like focused on actually winning elections. And so we're having this kind of internal battle where there's a theoretical side of the Democratic Party that's like, you need to run on these policies and win. But the people that are saying that are ironically not running on those policies and winning. And in fact, nobody's who's winning is running on those policies. So we have this theoretical gray area where a bunch of voices think that they can win. And yeah, but AOC is also in New York City, right? But you know, how you win in New York City, right, is like not going to win in fucking Illinois. But to win the presidency, you got to, Iowa. To win the presidency, you got to win Iowa, some voters in Iowa and in fucking, you know, Illinois, in New York City. You know what I mean? Like Zoran Mamdani is a great example. Okay. He's probably going to win New York. Okay. But if Zoran Mamdani ran for Senate in New York, I don't know if he would win Senate in New York. He certainly would not win a presidential election if he could run, right? There's no way he would win a national presidential election. Not right now, right? You know, but he could win mayor of New York, right? I don't think he'd win mayor of fucking Des Moines, Iowa. You know what I mean? And so the thing that's hard is like winning Senate elections is different than winning the House, okay? And winning a Senate election is a little bit closer to winning a presidential election, but it's even harder because now you have to deal with all these other states. So it gets like much wilder as you move outward, right? Like, for example, if you're running for the House, you can run for, you know, your district could be like a lot of young leftists, and so you could win on very socialist ideals. Now, if you're running for the Senate, you have to win statewide. Now you have to win far more of the state than just your little socialist, like 700,000 people. Now you may be dealing with, you know, millions, 10 million, 20 million. So now you have to appeal to a much broader flavor. And depending on the makeup of the electorate, if it's a 50-50, you may have to be purple. This is why somebody like 𝗙𝗪ce fucking wins in Michigan, right? Because she's that weird, like almost Republican. So she's certainly getting some, you know, middle of the road Republican voters even voting for her because they didn't like the Republican guy, right? And that's where it gets like super complicated. And so the Democrats are now like fighting. You know what I'm saying? The Democrats we have a fight because, you know, the people some of the people who are voting for Zoran Mamdani in New York think the national Democratic candidate running for president should be running on Zohran Mamdani's platform. And people are fighting about this. But anyway, that's just giving you a little background that right now, and we have to figure that schism out. We do. We're going to have to figure it out. And we're not there yet. Because the problem is this, guys. The problem is we need people like boots on the ground registering voters, okay? And we need more Democratic voters registered badly, right? Otherwise, if they keep registering more voters, it doesn't matter what platform you're running. They're going to have simply more registered voters than Democrats will, and they're going to be able to win no matter what the platform is, okay? And so the number of registered voters you have is like really, really important. But what's crazy about it though, guys, and this is what makes me nervous about like the future of leftism in America and the Democratic Party is like, it feels to me like some of the leftism in America is like talk, but it's not like boots on the ground. You know what I'm saying? Like some of American leftism is talking about everything the Democratic Party is doing wrong, but they're not out there registering a whole bunch of leftist voters. They're not out there winning congressional seats with their leftist policy platform, right? They're just talking about it, saying if we did this, we would win everything, but they're not actually producing any wins. And that's what's really hard and frustrating, because the part of the party that has been producing wins for the last 20 years is doing battle with a group of people that aren't winning anything, but they are talking about everything the party that's been doing for 20 years is like doing wrong. And so there is some performative nature going on, but it's a lot of it is that theoretical versus that reality thing, you know? And so that's what is really hard is we got to figure out a way to bridge that gap, right? We got to figure out a way to bridge that gap. But anyway, now I went on a little tangent there, but the thing about Z following me today is I saw this post. Where is it? Let me find it. Dude, look at this post, dude. This thing is crazy. I had not seen this until today, but it is, let me find it. Dude, she's got all her clips with her and 𝗙cie𝗶𝗍𝗀. Dude, I thought it was like a fucking recent post. Did I miss it? Maybe I skipped over it. Oh, this one. Look at this, dude. It says, after you look into the turning point rabbit hole, you will never be the same again. All right. Do you remember that cat fight that I made a video about? It was this video, guys. You guys will remember it. It was this one with the 4 ladies. Okay, where is it? Right here. The Maga girl bra with fucking, what's her name? Sarah, I can't remember her name. Sarah something. And Morgan Ariel, Emily, and fucking Hester Prynne. Dude, why am I forgetting? Oh my God, it's Sarah. I'm forgetting all their names, dude. It's just pearly things. And what is her name? Sarah fucking the racist chick, dude. Oh shit, I can't remember her name, dude. Sarah Stock. I think that's it. I think it is Sarah Stock. But anyway, so remember one of the things that came up with that was Morgan Ariel called out Emily about getting fingered in a lobby of a TPUSA event, the lobby of a hotel during a TPUSA event, and there were like children present. Well, apparently this scandal is like fucking, look at this shit. This is the scandal here, dude, right? There's some shit going on with TPUSA, okay? There is some shit going on with TPUSA. I want to read this tweet. I think some dirt might, like, there might be a story to break here that could potentially thwart some of TPUSA's, like, momentum, right? It says, breaking, new alleged TPUSA sexual scandal at TPUSA event garners millions of views. A new alleged scandal for TPUSA has garnered millions of views. I've written before about the frat boy culture, right? The sexualized frat boy party culture at Turning Point. Now, we know this is true, right? They are focused heavily on frat boys, white guys, white college dudes, Andrew Tate stands, right? There is very much a frat boy. I mean, you saw it, all the TikTok content with the frat boys doing the dance and wearing the hats. And part of it is this whole return to, like, men can do whatever they want without consequences, which is very appealing to these spoiled brat white college kids that are, filling these fraternities and shit. Okay. And this person says, I've written before about the frat boy party culture at Turning Point, along with the alleged cover-up by Turning Point Action Chief Operating Officer Tyler Boyer of an employee essay. Okay. On August 5th, 2025, former Turning Point USA employee Morgan Ariel accused Emily Wilson from Emily Saves America. You got fingered in the middle of a hotel lobby at a TPUSA event while everybody watched, and there were families around. You brag about having sex with married MAGA dads and doing drugs. You have been completely ran through by both single and married men in the right wing. You call young virgins losers and encourage them to have premarital sex, and you're pro-abortion. You're a disgusting feminist whore with a Jezebel spirit, her words, not mine, who use filters in all her videos and lives in rebellion to God while grifting off the conservative movement and simultaneously trashes women who desire to live God-honoring lifestyles because their engagement rings didn't cost enough or their lifestyles aren't flashy enough. As of the writing of this article, the post has been viewed over 1.2 million times. Dude, Jay, let's go. Australiana, let's go, baby. We got 7 minutes. We need 2 more, guys. All right, there's 1 more. We need 1 more, boss. Let's go. And then we got that dance party. We're getting it. Okay, dude, that was a mouthful. All right, Ariel went on to say in another video post, why is TPUSA like this? Charlie Kirk, why do you platform and promote degenerate feminist whores who have sex in the lobbies of your events with teenagers around while blacklisting conservative Christians from your events? And TPUSA props up the most detestable, vile human beings who uphold no conservative value. Dude, James Roberts, let's go. That's amazing, but that's a sticker. We need 1 more of the super chats. All right, let's go, though. We appreciate you. We're going to give you one of the Elons. Let's go, baby. So 1 more, and we got 1 more super chat. We got 6 minutes. But thank you, James Robert. Let's go. Okay, so this is a little bit scandalous going on that these people are conservative influencers. They're all part of Charlie Kirk's whole pious, religious life of Christ identity. But the young people that are like part of his movement, let's go, Tony. Let's go. We did it, baby. The young people that are... Let's go, baby. The young people that are part of his movement are degenerate fucking partiers. Okay? Degenerate, like degenerates. Okay? James D. posted an alleged photo of the incident with a woman who appears to match the physical description of Emily and a man he described as Urban Meyer with his hands in close proximity to the woman. Some have made assertions that there's video evidence of the incident, though requests to provide the video have not been returned. Photo confirmation has not been obtained at this time. So this is the photo, okay? Which is like, is this Emily and this is Urban Meyer? And apparently he's got his hands like doing some business there in this lobby. Dude, This is crazy, okay? This is crazy, bro. Right? Dude, the dirty birds. Okay, so they're trying to get video, all right? Then it says, this prompted commentary, including from the Cave Daddy, who said, I still can't believe that happened. But let's be real. Turning Point had drag queens, transformers. Just because they said MAGA, they've fallen down the slop hole massively. I don't like that terminology there with the Cave Daddy, but I assume he's talking about Lady MAGA, right? But he's using some very slurry terms there. And Reasonable posted, watching these faux right-wing influencers unravel with such vindication. Half of them are nothing more than OF rejects cosplaying as political voices and monetizing from it, while sleeping with married and unmarried men at TPUSA events, pushing pro-abortion takes, parading their hypersexualized, godless lifestyles as if that's what conservatism is now. They're hypocrites and they're poison. They're letting the left's depraved culture bleed into the GOP. Dude, that's wild. Rebranding it as edgy and big tent while mocking and attacking the very Christian and pro-life values that built this movement. Jesus, who is this person? What a fucking weirdo, right? They don't stand for anything but attention, and we need to call them what they are, wolves in red hats. So there's like a rift going on in here that's starting to form with these guys. And Patriot J said, I had no idea Charlie Kirk was running freak-offs at these TPUSA events. And AWOL Garrity, all right, dude, these people are so strange. Said, guys, at this rate, if you have a family, you should be staying away from TPUSA events. They platform porn stars and very clearly don't have any regard for the stuff families are exposed to at these conservative events. Now, I guess this is one of the pitfalls, right, of like Charlie Kirk trying to sell his little Jesus whatever shtick to like frat boys. As somebody who is in a fraternity at UCLA, can I just say that most of the fraternity culture is not living any like Christian pious, you know what I mean? Nobody's living in that realm. There's a lot of predatory behavior that is maybe much more in the Trumpian Pete Hegseth kind of fucking category. Yeah, filthy is a good way of putting it. All right, Dan1231 said TPUSA is a massive grift and MAGA is degeneracy distilled down to its essence and promoted as virtue by low IQ deviants, perverts, and psychopaths to glorify the orange child molester they worship as their Lord and Savior. Very Christ-like, many such cases. Dude, something tells me I don't think this guy is a right-winger, though, here, boss. Right? Let's look at Dan's profile. This guy, dude, he blocked me. All right, maybe he is a right-winger. I don't even know who this person is. How is the person they talk about block me? Right? This is some random person. I don't recall ever seeing this person before. Right? But he's a leftist. I think maybe he blocked me because I'm not left enough. Some of the far lefties have blocked me. Isn't that wild? Dude, this is crazy. Yeah, no, there are a lot of far lefties who've blocked me. Like, because I'm a little supportive of some of the Democratic Party as well. I get a lot of the far lefties. Many of them have called me like a baby killer and all this other crazy shit, dude. Yeah, they fucking are like outrageous, right? Because I'm not like, I'm not like saying we should fire a howitzer into the crowd, okay? And it says a pattern of allegations of immoral sexual behavior at TPUSA events. This is not the first time allegations of immoral sexual behavior at TPUSA events and parties have been made. A Washington Examiner opinion article in 2018 titled Turning Point USA Struggles with Allegations of Student Sexual Assault, Harassment allegations. By all accounts, The 2017 Student Action Summit hosted last December by conservative college organization TPUSA was boisterous. During the day, more than 1,200 high school and college kids listened to speeches by big names like Ben Shapiro, Donald Trump Jr., and Tommy Lauren. By night, some of those same students got blackout drunk. Witnesses describe a scene reminiscent of Animal House. Kids weren't just drinking in their hotel rooms. They say some wandered drunk through the lobby. Students weren't just roughhousing by the hotel pool. They say some were wasted in the water. And while many of the young conservatives proved a temperate bunch, the vomit in the bushes served as a visceral testament to the appetites of the rest. On August 5th, Scott alleged that TPUSA featured speaker and paid influencer Benny Johnson, you ready? Oh my God, dude. Benny Johnson takes the guys in the rooms during TPUSA events while his wife waits for him to finish. No fucking way, bro. Dude, there's allegations of Benny Johnson carousing with the boys at, who is this? Scott, right? Who is he talking about? Is he talking about, I'm trying to figure out who, is this the person who wrote the fucking article? Dude, this is crazy. I mean, dude, that's the most believable thing I've ever heard about Benny Johnson. Okay, Benny Johnson takes guys in the rooms during TPUSA events while his wife waits for him to finish. Sometimes she joins the action. Here is one of his makeout encounters. A screenshot of a post from Saeed Jones is shown saying, I made out with Benny Johnson in an empty dressing room at a BuzzFeed holiday party in 2013. It haunts me to this day. Anyway, it's funny that he's done literally everything but come out of the closet. Dude, I mean, dude, I know that Benny Johnson is as gay can be, bro. I have, dude, I've gone to the dance clubs in fucking West Hollywood, bro. I've been there. I've been to the gay clubs. I'm not gay, but I used to go to the gay clubs to meet girls because all the hottest girls hung out at the gay clubs. You know what I'm saying? It was like one of the, if you wanted to meet the crazy, beautiful girls who love to party, you went to the gay clubs because they all had like gay besties. And so I've spent a lot of time around gay men of every different stripe, young to old. When I first moved to Portland, I was a waiter in a gay-owned restaurant. I was the only fucking non-gay person there. Believe me, my gaydar is honed, bro. You know what I'm saying? Is honed. But anyway, Benny, there's no doubt in my mind that Benny is as non-straight as possible. Okay? That guy is absolutely swings. Okay? So this person, though, Saeed Jones, says, Benny and I went into a dressing room and started kissing. Would have gone further, but he said something cringe enough to snap me back to my senses. I rolled my eyes and left. And anyway, I'm definitely not the only guy Benny Johnson is made out with. I've heard him and his wife are swingers. She's pregnant with their 4th child now, which LOL. Anyway, when I warn y'all about sleeper agents, I'm speaking from experience. Demons walk among us. On August 7th, 2025, Milo posted, got fucked over a balcony by a stranger at a TPUSA party, among other things, allegedly, of course. Jesus. Okay, additional background and allegations, okay? Evan Kilgore. Now, I saw Evan Kilgore. I saw his posts, okay? I did see Evan Kilgore's posts around the Emily time. He was basically corroborating a lot of what Morgan Ariel said, because for those of you who aren't familiar with Morgan Ariel, okay? Morgan Ariel is she used to be a raver girl. Okay. And then she became a born again Christian, and that Christianity became her identity. And she worked for TPUSA, but she was in conflict with that whole frat boy youth influencer culture vibe. And so she got pushed out because she was too finger waggy and scoldy and too like judgmental of the behavior inside the organization. And so she became like disgruntled that the conservative Christian organization is not really conservative Christian, that it's more like wild sexual antics and like just pretending to be conservative Christian in order to sell that brand of political power. Okay? Because, you know, those people are all fucking hypocrites, right? Like most of those super conservative Christian guys in government are gay. Okay? You know what I mean? I think many of them, many of the most conservative, hardcore MAGA government people, Lindsey Graham, Jim Jordan, Tom Cotton, I think all of those guys are gay. Okay? They're all gay. I wouldn't be surprised if Tim Burchett was gay. Like many of these guys are just closeted gays that are leading the sort of anti-gay morality train because that's where they make their money and that's their fucking political power that's all fused together by like racism and misogyny. But like many of those guys are gay, dude. Many. Like many. Dude, bird shit? Okay. I like it. I like it. So Evan Kilgore made further allegations saying TPUSA told me to remove all public affiliation with them after Jenna Ellis and Dan Bongino falsely smeared me and made fun of me for calling them out. There is a history of TPUSA always siding with those who oppose real conservative Christian values, and I'm done being silent. And TPUSA allegedly fired one of their employees after the influencer's trip to Israel because she made a post about Jews needing to accept Jesus as their savior. So she made a post that was like critical of Israel, right? And she got the boot. TPUSA also allegedly fired a contributor because he spoke out against the use of pride flags on the set of The Chosen. Morgan Ariel said TPUSA kicked me out of their organization and blacklisted me because I exposed Israel and the Talmud right after October 7th. Charlie Kirk is owned by his Jewish donors and his loyalty doesn't lie with Christians. Christ is king. Now, this is interesting, okay, because there is a lot of interplay going on now, guys, with like Israel and the U.S. government, and there is some, it's like a lot more Israel influence than I personally was aware of 15 years ago. I shit you not, guys. There is like way more Israeli influence in, you know, specifically the Israeli regime with the money in politics, with some of the policies, with that shit like that Israeli pedophile guy who got busted in fucking Vegas just leaving the country. Not even a diplomat. The guy was literally here at a cyber convention, and yet he's like out on a ridiculously low bail on a plane back to Israel. Like, bro, what the fuck? You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot of like weird shit going on where Israel has an outside influence in U.S. government, and where some of these people, you know, you wonder, are they working for America or are they working for Israel? Even with Donald Trump saying, you know, if you're part of the BDS movement, we're not going to give you FEMA relief, dude, right? Or if you divest from Israeli companies, no government funds to you. That's wild. That's fucked up, bro. Like that Trump admin said that and then they walked it back. Okay. Kirk has also been accused of being anti-Semitic, right? So that's weird too, man. This brought immediate backlash from pro-Israel influencers such as Laura Loomer, who said TPUSA was able to grow as much as they did over the years because President Trump promoted them. I think tonight we all saw they just view President Trump as a means for being financially secure. I get along with many people from TPUSA, but it needs to be said that you can't call yourself a thought leader when you play both sides of every issue. So even Loomer is like not on the TPUSA train, but they'll take the red pilling of the young people because it helps them have political power. Can you really call yourself pro-Trump anymore when you don't challenge Tucker Carlson on his anti-Trump crusade that he's been on for the last 3 weeks, going as far as saying Trump isn't even America first? Trump is not America first. Tucker lied about the conflict in Iran and also just allowed Iran's president to completely get away with lying by saying Iran has never killed a U.S. citizen and that they didn't try to kill Trump. I don't want to hear anyone from TPUSA ever again say they think Islam is incompatible with the U.S. Obviously, Charlie Kirk, obviously you do. You clearly have no issue with Tucker Carlson being a mouthpiece for Qatar and Iran and then spewing his anti-Trump and anti-American propaganda at your TPUSA event. Oh, shit, dude. That's crazy. You know what I'm saying? That is fucking wild, bro. Right? You know what I'm saying? And so what do we got going on here? We got fucking, you guys having a good go of it in chat there? Right? Guys, you chilling? All right. So, Nurrit Granger, dude, who is Nurrit Granger? I don't know who this person is. But anyway, so she says to Charlie Kirk, you got to stop playing both sides of every single issue. It's time to draw a line in the sand instead of flip-flopping on every single issue. This is about moral clarity. I'm sick of people letting the issues slide. Okay? Nurrit Granger of Newsblaze. Jesus, Newsblaze? What a like AI news site is that, bro? Said in a July 18th, 2025 article, your July 2025 TPUSA Student Action Summit held in Tampa, Florida was a huge disappointment for me and many others. You of all people? And how can you sit on the stage and agree with Madam Kelly that Jeffrey Epstein was working on behalf and for Israel's intelligence unit, Mossad? These kinds of accusations benefit useful idiots, but you, Granger went on to say, so Charlie, there is a serious problem on hand which you help exacerbate. And Charlie, every Friday on your radio show, you wish your audience Shabbat Shalom. You of all people should have known better than to allow what we have watched and heard during your recent conference. Charlie, it would be better if you remain true to your strong moral compass, which guided you through the years. Speak out against anti-Semitism, even if it comes from your friends and associates. You're now walking in their path as if your mask has fallen. Where is TPUSA going? So I guess now they're mad at Charlie for somebody on the stage talking about Epstein being a Mossad agent. Dude, it's so confusing, right? Isn't it? It's like, it's hard to tell because they're like, right? They're fucking, they're wildly on every side of like the issue, right? Like they're like, some of them are like pro-Israel in the Netanyahu sense, right? They're pro like Israeli imperialism, but they're actually anti-Jewish people, right? And they're, you know what I'm saying? They're like pro-release the Epstein shit, but they're never going to believe that it's Trump, even if they watch a video of him banging somebody. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like they're all over the place. Stephen R. Young said, everybody that donates to Turning Point USA should cancel their donations. It's time for Turning Point and Turning Point Action, Charlie Kirk and Tyler Boyer to be investigated and called to account and held responsible for any of these and many other allegations that are proven true. As always, public comment by Charlie Kirk and Tyler Boyer was sought and ignored. Okay, now this is Tyler Boyer. Okay, and so there is something going on here with an alleged cover-up of an SA. Okay, there's an above cover-up of SA like related to TPUSA. And so this guy, Brian Ferentz, this guy is like a MAGA dude. Okay, this guy is like a MAGA person that is up on Charlie Kirk's jock, okay? And this is the Tyler, right? This is Tyler Boyer. So let's see if we can find out a little bit before we go about this guy. So this was from 2018. This is the original article about allegations of SA. All right. That one, I'm going to have to fucking figure out a way to unlock it. And it looks like this is the guy. Okay. This is the guy that just posted that rant. So I have not seen. So it looks like the guy who wrote that long tweet that we just read is saying that Boyer here, this guy, covered up an SA by a Turning Point employee. I mean, dude, yeah, there's a lot of like woman hatred in the conservative MAGA movement now. And it's super confusing because some of it, you know, is like religious based. Some of it is that, you know, that typical like religious misogyny, this sort of like male patriarchal hierarchy. Some of it, I think, is the closeted gays, dude. I think there's a weirdness there. Okay. And so it looks like this guy has received a threatening letter from Turning Point Action's lawyer, Frank Carney, that says, as you know, you made no attempt to reach out to Turning Point Action for comment to verify claims against our organization. So they're threatening him, okay, after he wrote about a pattern of corruption by Tyler Boyer and TPUSA, including that history of sexual assault allegations, which I think I'm going to have to do some further looking into, right? Because obviously I want to look at more sources than just this guy. But there's this is a written statement from somebody named Matthew Martinez. Okay? And there was a police report. Holy shit. Dude, I didn't even realize this. So I think this is a man, right? This is a man SAing another man at TPUSA? Is that what it is? Well, in Arizona, I was introduced to and partially trained by Matthew Martinez. Oh, so this is somebody. Oh, no. Okay, so I think this is a female victim that was SA'd by Matthew Martinez. I was introduced to, partially trained by Matthew Martinez. 2 months later, leading up to him coming out to lead our first training, I helped him on several work-related projects. First day of training, Matthew had asked me if I might show him around a little bit. I was tired and busy, so I declined. The next day, Matthew asked me if I would drive him to a meeting. He didn't have a car, so I thought I was being helpful. He told me to expense my mileage because it was for work and that Tyler had approved it. Later during the work week, I offered to take him to see a basilica he had previously expressed interest in, as I have a strong love for that church. I love building friendships that are founded on a mutual faith in God. Okay, I offered to drive because that was what he had previously asked me to do, considering he had no car. We attended Mass, but then he mentioned he had an interview he had to do and would need to step away soon for that. There was a terrible cell service, so I drove us to a coffee shop down the road. He did the interview and afterwards expressed interest in seeing more of the area. We were about 5 minutes from a restaurant, which I knew very well because I had worked there for 2 years and was friends with all the staff, so it was someplace I felt comfortable and safe going to. At this point, I should mention that I do not drink. This was something I mentioned in front of the entire TPA staff during training a few days prior, and also mentioned to him in a conversation during lunch on that Monday. He was very aware that I do not drink. Matthew ordered an old-fashioned and kept badgering me to order an alcoholic beverage as well. I repeatedly refused, just ordered a water. After he received his drink, he further urged me to drink some. He would not let up to the point where I had to lift the drink to my lips and pretend to drink a sip so that he would leave me alone. Dude, yeah, this is like gnarly. Dude, that's like Jesus. At this point, our conversation got a little more personal. He asked me to tell me something about myself that nobody knew and made comments about the fact that I hadn't had a boyfriend in 4 years, as well as complimenting my eyes. He also mentioned that he loved smoking cigars and cigarettes. I said that I loved the smell, but I didn't smoke myself because it wasn't good for your health. He began pressing me again, saying we should stop at a gas station and pick up a carton of cigarettes. Dude, yeah, this guy is like, hey, man, let's go and do everything that you don't do. Let me break down all your barriers. Like, dude, this shit is like sort of like grooming 101 kind of deal, right? To get people to do some shit that they're then ashamed of and feel bad about and get them in that loop of like being stuck. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's really a very methodical sort of manipulative way of like taking power over someone through badgering and getting them to do little things that they then regret. So they're in like a shame spiral, right? That you then can manipulate and convince them to do even worse things down the road. It's like a super common tactic, right? At this point, our conversation, so he ordered a second drink. He also began to talk about how he was more rebellious than he pretends to be. His tone shifted a bit here, and he talked about how he's something of a rebel. He also mentioned he's afraid of flying and needs to drink alcohol before he gets on planes, something he asked me not to mention to his bosses. I was starting to understand that perhaps he and I were different people, and maybe our interests didn't align in the way that I had thought. Although I'd considered having dinner, I changed my mind and began insisting that I needed to get home. I told him that I had to see my grandma that evening, so I needed to get back, despite the fact that his demeanor had changed a bit. I didn't want to leave him 20 minutes away from his hotel without a car to get back, so I told him I would drive him back to his hotel. After all, he had more tenure at TPA, and so I didn't want to make him angry with me for leaving him in a rural area where it is also notoriously hard to get a car service. Once we got in the car, the oldie station I left on was playing the Beatles song, I Want to Hold Your Hand. As I began to drive him back to his hotel, he mentioned the song, then took my hand in his. At this point, his entire presence changed. I realized that his intentions with me were physical, something that had perhaps naively never crossed my mind before. He asked me to pull the car over to the side of the road so that we could allegedly get out and dance together. At this, I started to panic. Again, we were in a very rural area, and if I pulled the car, there was a very good chance that no one would drive by us for quite some time. I'm also very physically small and not strong, and all of his talk about masculinity suddenly came across as much more of a threat than a brag. I tried to laugh off the suggestion, but my heart was now in my throat. Right? Dude, it's so scary, man. You know what I mean? To be in like these kinds of situations, like, dude. Like, people shouldn't have to live in fear of being SA'd, you know? He again started mentioning that he wanted to get cigarettes, but I told him I needed to get home. He told me that I should lie to my grandma and my parents. Instead, he suggested I spend more time with him. He said he would take me to dinner somewhere. I declined. When we approached a red light as we came closer to his hotel in a more populated area, he leaned across the seat and kissed me. He grabbed my thigh. I was wearing a dress, and this made me panic. Slowly, he crept his hand further and further up and into my thigh until he was touching my underwear. By now, I was so afraid of him I could hardly speak or think. I was paralyzed with fear. Jesus. Then he said he would go with me back to the office and told me that I should lie to my parents and say we were doing work, insinuating something much more nefarious. Shaking, I declined. Finally, he suggested that we just go back to his hotel room. Then I said I didn't think that would be a good idea. My voice breaking as I tried not to start crying. He told me to think about it, but then quickly followed that up by stating I shouldn't mention any of this at our next training on Monday. Instead, he requested that I not mention anything and go back to being his admin. As I pulled into the parking lot of his hotel, he asked me a final time if I would come up to the room with him. I stopped the car in front of the doors to the hotel, and noticing people around, I told him to get the fuck out of my car in as menacing a tone as I could muster. He leapt out and ran inside the hotel, at which point I started on my way home. Immediately afterwards, he called me twice. I answered neither. Dude, he called her. My first reaction was to call my mother. In tears, I told her about what had happened. She kindly advised me to let TPA Enterprise Director 𝗙𝗪𝗟𝗍𝗪 know what happened. Once I returned back home, I sent him a message letting him know about the incident. Brett called me within a few minutes, asking if I was okay and safe, as well as apologizing for being out of town at present and therefore unable to help prevent the situation from occurring. Brett told me he would have to let Tyler Boyer know about the incident as well, and asked if I was okay with Brett informing Tyler. I said that I was absolutely all right. couple hours later, Tyler called me and asked me to briefly recap what had happened for him. I told him about what happened with Matthew. Tyler and I were the only two people on the phone call. During this time, he told me that he would be sending Matthew back to Arizona immediately so that he would not be in the following week's training. Okay? Now, so, okay. So this is crazy. So she filed a police report, right? Isn't that crazy? That's fucking wild, dude. So good for her, man. The below excerpts from the police report detail some items of the alleged essay. In typical abuser fashion, the alleged abuser blames the victim, despite many other details confirming the victim's version of events. One key point is that both interviews involved the victim saying to the alleged assaulter to get the fuck out of my car. Does that make sense if the victim was to blame? Matthew also claims he could not answer certain questions about what happened and tried to remove a lot of that day from my mind. Dude, that's fucking wild. Dude, good for her, man. Dude, this is crazy. I mean, a lot of times they don't a lot of times women don't file police reports. You know what I'm saying? Casmo, when you're saying, why is she traveling the town with him? They were working together. You know what I'm saying? They were working together. Are you talking about this or are you talking about something else? You guys talking about some fucking shit that you guys are talking about? Are you talking about this instant? I think you guys are having a different conversation entirely. Yeah, no, I was thinking the same thing, Betty, that like this is the guy, right? This is the Tyler Martinez guy. But like, so, I mean, there's an obvious like frat boy fucking culture, okay, that exists in TPUSA. Obviously, they're aiming their whole like red pilling conversion is aimed at the frat culture and young white men, young fraternity men, where they can sell that misogyny, that racism, that homophobia packaged in you get all the power, get to do whatever you want. We're offering you the power, right? And it's very delectable to these young white sort of power hungry frat guys. That's who they like went after. And that's their chief sort of advertising unit. Now, this is pretty gnarly, okay? It's exactly the Taint brothers. And it's pretty gnarly, though, that this guy is like, the thing that I don't like about this is just this guy's like that pressure campaign, right? The girl doesn't drink, but he's like badgering her until she takes a sip. Then he's getting drunk and encouraging her, you know, they're going to mass and she's talking about, you know, like living life in Christ. And he's like, lie to your parents and let's go back to the office and fuck around. And he's like feeling her up in the car and shit when like she's not showing any like, you know, signs of wanting to hook up. He's basically getting drunk, right? And he's just like getting drunk and just, you know, moving on her like a bitch, as Donald Trump would say, you know? And what's crazy about this though, guys, is when you have a young girl, okay, say this young girl is like good Christian girl. She dreams of like working with TPUSA and taking Christianity to young people. She doesn't realize it's this frat boy culture. Now she's worried if she goes out there and this guy touches her and she says something, no more TPUSA, no more like Donald Trump. Now the whole MAGA movement is against her, which everybody knows when the MAGA movement's against you, you're like fucked. It's like bomb threat fucked. You're like cut out of the whole movement, right? Yeah, no one's going to believe her, but also they're going to prevent her from moving up in that whole like conservative Christian political world. Okay? They have the power, right? These guys, these TPUSA guys that are a step below Charlie Kirk, they have the power to decide which women and men advance inside this Christian, political movement and which ones don't, right? That's a lot of power. And that power leads people to like not saying no when they really want to be saying no because they don't want to ruin their whole fucking career, right? This is the same shit that like Pete Hegseth pulled, when he fucking raped a married woman at a Republican conference. All she did was she was a chaperone helping the drunk Pete Hegseth get back to his room. And then he married a raped woman. And then the Christian coalition, the GOP that ran that event, they put her under an NDA to protect Pete. Probably ruined her fucking marriage, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, dude, what the fuck, bro? This shit is so dirty. And then, yeah, this is crazy. So then there's a police report. And then, according to the victim, corroborated by additional evidence and interviews, Tyler Boyer inappropriately took over the interview from the HR department. Okay? So then what ended up happening is when they investigated this internally, that Tyler Boyer guy was like, I'm going to investigate this. It looks like he took it over. Okay, Boyer has a history of being dismissive of women and has had allegations of sexual assault made against himself. That Boyer instructed the victim to show Matthew around and said of this alleged SA case toward the victim, it wasn't that bad and she should just forget it. That Boyer scheduled Matthew and the victim to be alone in the office after the assault. If Matthew's account was correct and the victim was to blame, why would Boyer do that when an investigation of SA had been opened? Dude, this shit is crazy. Right? So anyway, dude, this looks pretty deep. I'm going to have to fucking do some research on this. I can't unearth this all now. But holy shnikes. Right? Dude, yeah, no, Cassidy Hutchinson, dude, she was like, she got jacked. She got jacked. But I really think we should look at this. I think this story should be like followed up on. It really should, because like this type of stuff, these types of things that can sort of break apart TPUSA and these types of grifting things, like we gotta crack this shit open. You know what I mean? We gotta crack this shit open. And I'm curious though, if I can find more sources. Obviously, like I have to find more sources than just this one guy. But again, I have been hearing online, I have been hearing from a number of different elements of the MAGA like world. I have been hearing a lot of like sexual impropriety going on in the TPUSA youth movement. Like, which is not surprising, because if we look at the Republican MAGA movement, I mean, dude, Trump is a sexual assaulter. They're all, right? These guys are all like SA and fucking, they are. They're all fucking degenerates. They are. But now we're going to end on our dance, baby. We got that dance party, boss. Let's get this shit going, shall we? Let's get into edit mode. Dude, yeah. Malignant narcissist fucking rapist, bro. All right. Now, I'm gonna be honest, guys. I'm going to be honest with you and let you know that I only got like 4 hours of sleep last night, 3.5 hours of sleep. I've been on a bit of a grinder. So I can't promise that I'm going to have the highest energy right here. This may not be my best showing as far as the dance goes. but we're gonna give it all we got. All right. Get a little bit of that deja vu going. When do I sleep? I sleep normally from about 8 a.m., 8 or 9 a.m. to about 3 p.m. That's my normal sleeping hours. Today I slept from about 9 to noon because I wanted to get videos done early so I could play some video games with my lady. Jenny and I played a little Fortnite today. We did. We kicked it. Played a little Fortnite. But yeah, no, I'm a night guy. I stream at night, then I stay up all night to edit videos so I can get a video out 6 a.m. in the morning. And then I wake up and edit all afternoon until I stream again at night. So I edit from 2 a.m. to 7 a.m., 8 a.m., and then I edit from 3 to 8 or 9 p.m. Right? All right. You guys ready? You guys ready? Let's go, baby. All right, let's get it. Let's get it. Let's get a little deja vu. Oh, here we go, baby. You guys got it. Dude, I'm fucking tired, bro. Oh, what do we got next? All right, let's find a good song to go out with. All right? Dude, I'm gonna go catch my breath. I'm gonna go edit some videos. I'll fucking see you guys tomorrow, baby. All right? Keep it real, boss. Keep your chins up. We got a long way left in this fascist nightmare we're living through, guys. All right? I'll see you guys tomorrow. It's time to get radiant. Peace! Love ya!
Hey, I just wanna change the world. I just want the perfect girl. I don't wanna hang around, I'd rather be found. It gets better, I wonder, my pleasure together. Everyone's waiting, anticipating. Change the world, but I'm not gonna wait my turn. I don't ever want to come down, I'd rather be found. It gets better,